Welcome back to the Paladins Premier League. Hopefully everyone has caught their breath after that set because it's back and forth as it was. It was a lot of fun to watch. Dolson now on the desk. Gormizer joins me here this time around for our second set of this Friday. It should be a fun one. That's a tough act to follow in game number one, but you get the Renegades. Tough loss yesterday. Envy, big win yesterday over SSG. So Renegade just looking for something to hold on to.
And that's really all it is. Although I will say this is a good spot for Envy, especially now that SSG have taken a pretty, again, monumental loss in my eyes for what it was. It's a very big upset for the Knights to be able to come through. Solid for them, but not so good for SSG, trying to kind of stay in that top four conversation.
Right.
Now having that extra one tacked on, I believe 12-13, 12-14 as they come out of this week. So not the cleanest spot for them. Envy, if they win this, I don't think it solidifies them. I think there's still some realm of possibility that they don't qualify, but it is very slim at that
It's
point.
looking much less likely. And, on the topic of Envy and on the flip side, instead of dropping out, it's kind of that third, fourth flip against Virtus Pro that you have to keep your eyes on as well. VP will be back next week to play a couple of games and maybe make up some of the ground that they've missed out on with Envy playing here. But this is a team, I think, that they hadn't beat SSG in the PPL in 2019 since their win over them at Worlds last year. So getting a big win over them yesterday, I think, reinstills maybe some confidence.
Honestly, actually, looking at the numbers now, I think there's even more reason for them to not only be confident as they get their win over SSG, but also to be reinvigorated. With 25 games total played, this will be 26.
Two left after this.
Two left after this. I do genuinely think it's impossible to knock them out of qualifiers. I think you can still maybe change up the standings if you're looking at out of quarterfinals. I mean, yes, being able to kind of qualify for the top four spot. There we go. That's the right sentence. Because it put them, 16-10, very, very good. The next highest is Virtus Pro at 14-9. And so those could still potentially change up.
Actually, that's true.
But that's about where it ends. I don't know how many more games SSG have. It might be able to come through. I see.
We'll have 3 more.
1, 2,
So
three.
they'll be able to catch up, potentially, if Envy don't win this one. So this is an important one for Envy. And looking at Tulki as well, an unfortunate highlight starts with a missed overpower. But the rest of this play, and I love seeing this because Tulki has kind of talked to me about how he is the kind of flex player in a weird way for this team. He ends up playing point tank, and that's an important spot to watch him on. But he really tells me he just plays the role that Envy need him to play, whether that's double off tank, whether that's the point tank. He'll do it, and he's good at it.
I'll also say, as far as Tulki highlights go, I would not have guessed that you'd start with Khan on it, right? That's not a champion you typically get to see him on. And so very big, I think, to have him come through and be as versatile as he has been so far these last few days, last few weeks. Definitely been very, very big. But Renegades on the other side, this is one of those moments. There's no way to sugarcoat it. They're not going to make it out of qualifiers. There's no way that they're ever going to climb up to
there's
fourth.
not 12 more games for them to play and win.
Unfortunate scenario for them. This is, as far as things go, their chance to play upset for Envy and their chance to potentially learn, glean as much as you can from the world champions themselves and get that practice going into it. I mean, we watched an interview with them yesterday, but it is very important to note that they feel confident against the minor league teams, against the console league teams, who they will more than likely end up facing. I believe it's All Business.
It would be
from
them
Europe
against All Business,
that they have to go against first. So that confidence is going to be good, but they need everything they can get. All Business has a lot of veteran players, a lot of players that used to be in the PPL that are now over there in Europe who are coming through. And one of the bigger factors for them has been Hero.
And going up against Tulki, that's kind of the matchup to look at here. I think Hero has been kind of one of the, and this is hard to say with, Invocal and Shadow on the team, but kind of consistent for them.
Yes.
I mean, he has had his inconsistencies, so don't get me wrong there, but I think as far as point tanks go, Hero is always kind of in that conversation of, well, maybe he didn't absolutely win us this game, but maybe he didn't quite lose us this game. But I think in the interview we saw with them yesterday, he worded it very well, where maybe I'll be having a great day and the rest of my team will kind of be having an off day. And it's those stars that the Renegades need to have aligned, and a lot of that starts with your point tank, in this case Hero. And, you look back at early on in this split, they beat Na'Vi. You talk about any given day. Renegades are a team where any given day they can, as the 8th seed team, they have 3 games left to play. They are 4 games away from Kanga, so they are locked into the 8th place spot. They will be going up against all business. So that's where their eyes are. You're looking to practice, you're looking to get better, and a lot of that starts with Hero.
And this, again, is their chance to maybe replicate a little bit of that bottled lightning they had earlier on. It's been 4-0, 4-0, 4-1 the 3 times these teams have met this year. All of them in favor of Envy, so 1 map total that Renegades have been able to pick up of the 13 played. And today, Envy's going to try to turn that number to 16 for them and maybe try to keep it at 1 for Renegades. But that's kind of the mentality they need to approach. The best case scenario for you, or the worst case scenario for you that's still an improvement is a 4-2. Just keep making something better. If you're Renegades, a 4-0 is not what you want on your plate. If you're Envy, it's, of course, everything you're hoping for. But a 4-3 here would be good for the Renegades. A win would be even more monumental, but staying in the realm of realism, we have to kind of look at this as what kind of things you can glean from this. Unfortunately for them, it has come down to that. It's just, you have 4 wins total in this year. Granted, one of them is against the top team, and that, I think, shows the versatility of the league. I just think that you have to recognize that sometimes the stars align, sometimes they don't. Based on yesterday, I'm going to say they're maybe not aligning totally for the Renegades this week.
This is a hard week for the Renegades. You face kind of a resurging Pittsburgh Knights yesterday, and now we've seen that they can really take it to some top teams. They are kind of the sneakiest 6th place team. They're right in that conversation with Kanga. But now you have to go immediately against Envy, who, again, resurgent is kind of the word I look for. They had been on a little bit of a loss streak, Envy had been. And yesterday, I think, maybe turns that corner. And, we mentioned it. They are 15-10. 28 is the number to reach. You play the other 7 teams twice in each split for a total of 28 games. So they have 3 games left. We have this game and then 2 more in the next 2 weeks of the PPL to really get our gauge on where these teams stand. And especially in Envy's case, if they are qualified to quarterfinals, we won't see them at all during that qualifier week. Our 1 and depending on how they show up that day, only look at them in Worlds will be on that Saturday.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big kind of standing point for these teams. Envy, having been world champions, it's kind of the ones that you keep your eye on. I think everybody watching any teams that are kind of keeping their eyes on it, I should say, are going to be studying up on Na'Vi, studying up on Envy. Those both have been persistently troublesome last year for them. SSG was in the conversation. Of course, you'll have more knowledge after qualifiers are done who exactly is going to be your opponent. But for a lot of these guys, you're looking at it, especially, like you said, that Saturday being as impactful as it could be for some of these teams. It's a one and done. You're out if you lose. Yeah. The guys who are in qualifiers, there's a day between the end of qualifiers and when they play for the quarterfinal matchups. And that one-day break is not going to be enough to cool them down. They're still going to be able to kind of ride some of the momentum. It won't be as hot as if they played it maybe same day or the day after. But you're looking at potential upsets coming just because of the fact that they've now got this extra week of practice. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of keep our eyes on that, the dynamic through that qualifier week, really see where different teams start to stand. Because, if you look at the standings, the 6th through, or the 5th rather, through 8th seed PPL teams are the ones that have to work their way through that qualifier week. As of right now, that's SSG, Knights, Kanga, and the Renegades. I'm not really excited about playing any of them. No. I think any of them, on any given day, could take it to you, and I wouldn't. We'll have some discussions closer to that qualifier week, I imagine. But there's a world where it's just the bottom 4 PPL teams slot right back into the quarterfinals against the top 4. Again, something just to keep your eyes on. But to pivot back towards this matchup, looking at Envy and the Renegades. One, you mentioned Envy have dominated the last 3 times this year that they've played. What do the Renegades need to maybe capitalize on to kind of take it to Envy today? I think if you can get Hero on one of his good days, if you can get rid of Tulki and cause Rubu either to be on an uncomfortable champion or to just make him not have the level of play that he normally does, lock him down, keep him off on the side, then it's a clean sweep. Rubu has been a very big point of contention for Envy in the last few weeks, their last couple weeks of play. If he's not showing up, even just slightly,
Yep.
It feels like the entire team suffers as a whole. So he is maybe that linchpin that if you can pull him out, then all of a sudden they fall apart.
Well, they'll look to capitalize on that for sure. Stonekeep, Timbermill, Jag Falls, Warder's Gate banned out. That leaves Serpent Beach open for the first pick here. We saw a lot of Strix. I like to continue to have that conversation. Apparently Strix works anywhere. We questioned maybe on Brightmarsh. Ricotta shut down that line of questioning very quick with a 4-0 for them.
He gets that 4-0, but how much of that was the Strix?
That's true.
Let's throw that under there. That's the point of contention.
Maybe that's sort of the because of or despite
if they had something else, what could have happened? I do think there's merits to it. I've seen Stigma win way too many snipers on maps where snipers don't belong to doubt it. I just think you have to have the right team around you, and you have to have the right kind of mentality as the sniper. And I think, granted, we're maybe giving him a rough time, but Ricotta did win that and did have a pretty big impact in terms of damage. So a lot for him. Makes sense for Renegades to kind of ban that out here. Rock Monkey with a sniper might be one of the scariest things that I have pretty much ever seen.
I think the Renegades agree with you because they ban out Strix here alongside Makoa, Willow, and Atlas to follow suit. Frontline priority continues here. It's who we highlighted in the pregame. It's what we're seeing now in the pick ban phase. Barrack and Ash first two for the Renegades. So maybe keep your eyes on some shield break. Envy are going to pick that up in the form of Cassie. A little bit of healthiness for the man Tolkien.
Barrack Ash, though, probably one of the best
kind
of two pickups for the Renegades. I think Khan would have been preferred for them, but right now Moonchopper has a pretty consistent Khan, Ash, Ruckus rotation that has been good for them. I used to not quite agree with the Moonchopper Ruckus, but I've come around to it as I've seen him kind of line that one up. But the Barrack versus the Inara, this is going to be maybe the biggest hail for all of this. Obviously, the DPS on the sides is going to determine a lot, but Hero and Tolkien on that point contend so much of this match. There's so much weight between the two of them, as well as the fact that with these two champions specifically, there's a ton of survivability. Depending on who Mr. Hayes grabs for the support, Inara might just win outright because of her inherent sponginess of healing.
And I think Io was kind of a back and forth pick in the last set. They kind of mentioned Cuss doesn't really play the IO. I don't think Mr. Hayes really plays the IO either. I know the Renegades, they've given Viral IO a couple of times. I don't think that in this set it's going to be quite as contested, quite as back and forth. At least in game one, it looks to be that way. Genos locked in for the Renegades. Great to pair with Barrack, great to pair with Maeve. Ash as well is no exception to that rule. And Damba, one of Hayes' better supports. I don't know if he has a bad support in his arsenal, to be honest. And yesterday against SSG, the ultimate battle between him and Mittal was a treat to watch. I imagine more the same from him today.
I think it's going to be very good. And also, I think very important to know, Maldamba, even though he disappeared for a while, wasn't really due to any changes. It was more just damage amp kind of taking over the meta for a little bit there. But in terms of healing, and especially with an Eevee on the team, he is one of the best at doing it. Keeps Inara alive, keeps Khan alive. So Mr. Hayes probably going to be one of the more essential roles for this. But I will say, both of these teams, phenomenal drafts top down. Every single champion here plays to every player's strengths. So it does come down to mechanics, and that's the best kind of game to start it out on.
Yeah, Rock Monkey on a Cassie. I'm scared to play against that. But Invocal on a Leon, that brings out similar feelings. This is an important one for Envy. Need to win this one to secure that top 4 seeding. Let's find out if they do it in game number 1.
Indeed. Let's find it out, guys. Of course, hey, I'm here. It's fun. And Kresnik joined together to be able to cast this set. I'm excited for it. It could potentially still go either way. Renegades, depends on what type of Renegades it is that we see today. But Envy, of course, he mentioned it before, Rock Monkey on the Cassie. I'm a little bit more afraid about that, to be honest with you.
It's 3 a.m. Vocals in your house. He has an heirloom rifle. It's scary to see both of those players, again, on their strongest champions. Some of their strongest champions at least, but I feel like Renegades' draft kind of plays to the map a little bit more. I kind of like the Barrack Ash potential, put Barrack on point to poke up top, as opposed to the Inara not really being able to kind of answer back. Leon, very good at dashing off of high ground and going in deep, living with Enlightenment. I definitely think Renegades' draft plays a little bit more into the strengths, but if Renegades get a little bit overzealous, a little over-aggressive with the Ash, I think the Stain from Envy might just be able to beat that out.
I agree with that. They definitely have the rotations and the side pressure to be able to match whatever it is that Envy might end up throwing at him. Already starting off a very good presence onto the back line on the Rock Monkey. Of course, 3 of them are behind that little tower right there. Vogel's going to change targets and look directly at Nara. Once again, everyone's getting healed up. Everyone's really just looking for their first pick.
Vogel gets slightly displaced when he's trying to hit that presence and gets knocked away. Moon might barely make it out, so just trading back and forth, blood being shed, but no frags just yet. We were trying to get very aggressive to make it happen, and so much sustain on their field. I don't know if Renegades can push him out of there just yet.
And the percentages are still close, 39% to a 27. However, Shadow is going to be the first one to go down. I don't know what ended up actually happening there, and Vogel gets picked off as well. And now Renegades have already lost 2 man down at this point. 54% for Team Envy. Now the percentage is going to start climbing. Moonchopper might be in a bad spot, and he is, because Ruben's going to be able to get those last finishing shots.
Rough staggered kill. Hero's going to go down as well, and if Renegades touch the point at this point, it's more or less just to give ultimate percentage to Envy. 99, Shadow realizes it, he runs away, and I don't know how Shadow went down to Toki. I'm assuming Toki just kited off point to fight Shadow in Dial. Wasn't expecting to be 2v1'd, and that's what made him go down. Toki just ending up getting the final shot there. Now Renegades on the defense. We know this map is defensively sided for sure, but
oh, nice.
That's definitely a way to start a push, even with the defensive advantage.
For sure. They want to keep them starving, at least the Renegades, make sure they cannot fight back against this aggressive push that Envy have already created for themselves. Toki is half though. Moonchopper's low on the side as well. We already see that the rest of them are pretty much sieging up together to try and keep him low. They get Moonchopper, Viral, and Vocal. 3 down. Heroes in a bad spot. Where you going? The seismic crash to follow through. They managed to actually pick off Invocal. Shadow thankfully finds the opening kill onto Rubu, but still, most of Renegades are down.
Shadow was playing like an attack helicopter there. He was just floating above them, spamming daggers down the whole time. Seismic Crash used by Toki, not necessarily the best time. He catches just Hero with it, more or less to stop him from potentially staggering. Very good kill by Shadow. Catching random noob there on the side. Look at this. Envy kind of surrounded. This is why that defensive play is so strong.
No!
And Hayes misses the debt onto Shadow up top.
The Dread Serpent gets used but does not make contact with Shadow. He is not feared away, not scared at all. A good through time and space to finish off Toki. Now the focus fire is going to start on both Mr. Hayes and Ruby. You see Shadow already dashing in. And of course, Random Noob is trying to peel him off, but he can't. He hit a good air shot, but wasn't enough to protect Mr. Hayes. And now Envy are on the back foot.
Shadow playing so aggressively, and I think it's paying off in Vocal also. 11,000 damage ahead of Rock Monkey right now. Makes sense on the defense. I think a lot more targets being presented to be shot in general. Still a lot more pressure here from Shadow onto Rock Monkey. Maybe both Cat Burglar shots connect. That's one way the Renegades can stagger their defense just a little bit longer.
Good rotations coming out from Shadow to be able to find that damage as well as find the kills. However, Vocal, he is going to go down. Shadow looks like he's going to be next. Stepping out a little bit too far. Hero might be as well. He might as well just die. Doesn't want to get staggered out, so he's just going to run right into him. Make sure he gets picked off. Moonchopper charges back, but he's going to be the one that's going to end up being staggered. So that's going to be pretty huge. They've got the Dome Shield, and they've got the Midnight.
I think dying on point in that situation isn't really as much of a stagger. That's what he should have done. Everyone else in his team was dead. He had to dash to get out. Better to die on the objective than to die anywhere else.
Oh, no. The overpower immediately. As soon as Hero steps out of base, they deal with him accordingly. They use the ultimate. They use the seismic crash as well. This is what Envy are doing. They want to keep this momentum. Shadow was at least able to kill their off tank, but look at how Rock is sieged up. He is firing, free firing at that point. Nobody able to contest. A good wall to prevent him from actually contesting the point, and Envy are not here to mess around.
Perfect positioning there by the wall by Tolkien. Also, I mean, I think Viral might have been able to jump over it, but there was just so much damage on the other side. It would have been basically either let them cap or put yourself into a firing squad, give them ult, and ruin your KD. Not that that third part matters too much, but when there's no real upside to dying there, it definitely makes sense that they would go that way. Tolkien 7-1. Getting not a lot of damage, but finding every kill that the rest of his team is setting up for him, for sure.
On the flip side of that, Vocal is doing pretty good on the damage as well. He's 0-4-4, but you can definitely see not only is he hitting his shots, but he's creating pressure. It's just up to the Renegades to try and not get picked off as frequently as they are, because Envy are literally throwing everything at them to make sure that Renegades literally do not have a chance to breathe.
As we go further into the late game, I think things might get a little better for them just because of the healing scaling. The damage is what really matters from Genos. So as we go on, it'll get a little easier. Dread Serpent slows down the tanks, and if you need to find a pick from it soon, though, both tanks manage to kite away, but Hero
my goodness,
gets crippled and walled and goes right down.
Let there be light, says Cassie, immediately countering out the Midnight. They actually try and block Hero. He uses the Commander's Grab so that way they can try and stop Moonchopper from dashing away, but they still are right up in his face. He has to use Assert Dominance, but it gets blocked immediately. Really, he could have just backed off, but they're willing to commit. They don't want to afford to give up this positioning that Renegades have right here, and they've still got 3 ultimates up.
Holding that position did force all of Envy back, but they couldn't find a kill from it. Shadow trying to reposition here to make something happen through time and space. Does not connect. Nobody was backed up. The pressure wasn't enough. Viral shot it at the one spot you have to run away to, and there just wasn't enough pressure to force anyone to run away.
It's netting some positioning for Renegades. We already see that Shadow's in the back line. Look at that Paulie. He's trying to get the kill. He finds the daggers, gets it. Now he's looking at Toki switch targets immediately, but he's in a bad spot because we already see that Envy are sieged up on that bridge as well. They got 2. Hero's going to be the 3rd, dies directly on point to prevent them from getting any more percentage they need to. Moonchopper's trying to follow up as well. He goes down, but now Envy are going to at least be able to get the zone with a Dread Serpent up and an Overpower and almost a seismic.
This is such a tough call to make. Can you make it to the point? You don't have Assert Dominance, but it still, I think, has to be your Ashe. They actually don't dismount Hero, but they catch him with the Overpower on the way in.
As soon as he comes out of spawn, Rubu is ready and waiting for these Overpowers. He catches him. 3-0 already for Team Envy with no point contention, very little at least, from the Renegades. They still got the Dome Shield. Hero is the only ultimate that's up. Midnight just arrived at this point. They have the Assert Dominance coming, but they have 2 minutes and 10 seconds still for Envy to be able to push in. They have plenty of time, and look at the zone they are dealing with right now.
Hero and Renegades in general are actually doing a great job, I feel, of zoning them back. They can even use Dome Shield to hold this if Envy does try to re-push with this high ground. Now look, they force them outside of Orange, stuck on this outer area, and Moonchopper's behind them, leaving all of them with Cauterize.
He got disengaged over off the side. Now the rest of Envy are actually going to know, but good peel back from Shadow to be able to come back and annihilate that backline with those daggers. Seismic Crash as well. Dome Shield in Orange to try and zone them out. Shadow gets a double and Vocal gets 1. Now Rubu is forced back. He was the only one that was alive, and now they want to be able to prevent Envy from getting back to the point.
I think Toki's been playing really well so far this game, but I'm not sure about his Seismic Crashes. I think 1 of 3 has been very solid. The one that took down Moonchopper on that push, but using it there, not really finding anything, using it just to kill Hero when he was getting staggered, very rough too. Midnight comes out and it's countered by Scout, but it looks like it might have gotten Renegade some positioning.
And Vocal was in the back behind Rock Monkey, so he was able to get that Enlightenment, but literally, I mean, Paulie, Random Noob was right behind Invocal as well, able to finish him off. In this point, though, everyone's losing, and he's pushing in the payload, but I think it's going to be okay because Moon just respawned. He's not going to be able to get the back door, but he will be able to create some type of pressure for Envy to be able to catch up to Rare Random.
Getting this objective pressure is way more important than you might think. Just having that cart get closer puts a lot more pressure on the respawners to make something happen. You can't take time to take that positioning. Rubu maybe feeling pressure on his own. Misses the Overpower, but they're finding the first pick on a Hero.
They still get Hero immediately after all that. They've still got the time and space. Viral can still time himself accordingly. Now the Rubu's all the way on the back, but he has to use it. And they all get wiped almost immediately, one after the other. Renegade, such a tough game for them on Circle Beach.
The sustain was just too much early game. They had to make it to where their Cauterizes and Wreckers were going to be online. And I felt like, honestly, their macro, their overall positioning and what they wanted to do was not bad. I think it was the micro where things really fell apart. Just the little interactions between the champions, that's where Envy took it over. They've played together so long, and they have that stuff absolutely on lock.
I mean, they had the positioning on lock, too, because you saw literally, I kept bringing it up because it was a good point to make. As soon as Hero came out of base, Rubu only missed the Overpower towards the end. Every single time before that, as soon as he saw Hero even try to get close enough, he overpowered him, they got the kill, and they kept up the pressure by taking care of that point take, which means Toki pretty much went uncontested for most of that game.
Yeah, and an uncontested point tank, objective pressure wins games. Get as many kills as you want. You could be 100-0 if they cap the point. You lose.
Exactly, and lose Renegades did, unfortunately, for this first game. Envy up 1-0. Right after this break, we'll be right into Game 2.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Game 1 comes to a close. If you blinked, you missed it. And Envy, they steamroll over the Renegades here in this map. And it wasn't even so much fancy. It was just kind of methodical, kind of dismantling almost Gormizer.
Yeah.
It was just better strategic play. They were winning all of the fights as well. But just the strategy, the aggression, everything was just so well timed. And this is kind of what I expected. And it's not so much just because of Envy Renegades, but it's more Envy coming off a big win yesterday. Renegades, they're not really in sync right now. And this is kind of what was written on the walls.
I mean, let's face it. I follow Shadow on Twitter. I know that this morning he didn't get, I don't know what it was he was trying to buy, but I know he didn't get it. And so he's obviously tilted from that. A lot of good damage, though, coming down in Vocal, Shadow being able to kind of put it up there. Even Moonchopper putting his name on that list is just the conversion of damage to kills. That is really where that breaks apart. Also might help the 125, rounded up 126k healing to the 70 Viral was able to output.
Yeah.
Maldamba makes that difference. That's the biggest thing for it is you don't get the damage amp, but you get sometimes double the healing if played properly. Maybe only, I guess it'd be 1/3 above what the other guy has, but being able to kind of make a big deal. Of course, it also helps if your tanks are 9 and 2 and 14 and 2 respectively.
Yeah, 14 and 2 seems good to me. 9.8 KDA. You're going to be winning too many games when Rubu's able to do what he does best. And you know, we always talk about Envy and kind of how a lot of their game hinges on, you know, whether Rock Monkey and Random Noob are having these big days. I think Random Noob as well, and honestly anyone on Team Envy can kind of go that extra mile on any given day. If you get kind of a blanket normal day from Rock and Random and you have Rubu performing like he is right here, I think Envy still have a great chance to win.
I mean, you could even have them having a bad day, and I think if Rubu's performing like this, they're going to win. At least in this one. I think if it's against Na'Vi, that kind of stuff, like those smaller things will make a bigger difference. But there's a reason I used Linchpin for Rubu earlier, and it's just that even though this team operates very well as a team, there are still certain essentials that have to be met to make sure that, I would say 3 out of 5 of them hit their mark, and that is Random Noob, Rock Monkey, and Mr. Hayes. They both can do really well, or all 3 can do really well, but they have to do more, or they can do more well, and it kind of depends more on the other 2, where Tulki is, where Rubu is. And even Tulki could have an off day or maybe be 0-8 as long as you have Rubu doing well. He is kind of the thing, I think, the center of gravity for Team Envy. And as long as he continues doing well, I expect that the entire team goes up with him. But if he trips even once, that's typically how you see the team fall.
Yeah, and Envy don't really show any signs of slowing down, at least in game number 1. Serpent Beach by the wayside, 4-0 for Envy. Splitstone Quarry up next. Again, one of those maps traditionally a little bit slower. Teams starting to figure out how to push on this map, though, has sped it up just a little bit. But you can still really get one or the other. Granted, you can on any map in Paladins. Some tend to be a little slower than others, though, and Splitstone kind of in that conversation. Strix, not just a Renegades ban. Envy are going to do it this time. Is that first pick worthy? I mean, because both teams who have been second pick have banned out Strix. Is Strix now in a spot where you're banning him as a second pick because you're scared of the other team getting him first?
I think so, but I honestly think that means that you should open up the conversation beyond that, right? It's not just, are we banning him because he's a first pick? Because he is first pick worthy.
Right.
But if he's first pick worthy, and Willow's first pick worthy, and Atlas and Makoa are first pick worthy, like, stop banning 2 of them.
And
then you're guaranteed to get one, but it does, that conversation then falls down as to the impact. Atlas, I think you first pick over Strix. Strix does not make up for that. I think Strix and Willow can go in the same tier, and then Atlas and Makoa go in the same tier.
Agreed.
So, as long as one's banned, you might not want to roll the dice with the other, which is so far what we've seen out of these 2, or the 2 draft phases we've had.
Right.
But I wouldn't mind seeing second pick teams start to play with that maybe. Just a little more.
We saw like a little bit in our last set, like a Cassie ban here and there. I mean, Willow for Simsaloo was played like once or twice in our last set, so there is some give. But, you know, with Torvald now being in the spot where he's in, I expect, you know, this is about as standard of a ban column as you'll probably find, at least here in the PPL. First few picks starting to roll through for both teams. Ash, Khan, Barrick, those are your standard top 3. And if you're going to grab Ash and Barrick, so the same front line that the Renegades had in Con this time for RNG. They're going to stick with a similar lineup here if they're able to get to the Damba. I think smartly Renegades, though, they're going to take the Eevee from Random Noob. I think it's too much to give them the Cassie and the Eevee one more time.
The only thing Renegades could do here that I think completely stops Envy from getting a lineup that they are going to be able to dominate with, I guess is the better way to word it, is if they decide to go Eevee Mave, which it's not common, not unheard of, though. So it follows this very thin line that could potentially swing that away. Invocal is a very, very good Mave player. But the problem then becomes that you start playing two similar styles on two champions, and it just doesn't work too well here. So Envy should be able to get Mave for their last pick. If they want it, they might go deeper in their pocket.
Yep.
But I feel like Ashe, Barrack, Damba, Cassie, Mave feels better with a Genos under it, but still works.
It's a good Envy draft. They'll leave that kind of flex open to the last pick. Looks like Victor for the Renegades, and Vocal on Victor again. That's another one that looks very good for them, whether it's Leon, whether it's Cassie, whether it's Victor. Kind of that wheelhouse for Invocal is always dangerous. The damage output is always high on a Victor in general. But absolutely when Invocal is the one piloting him. It is Mave being hovered here for Envy. I kind of echo your thoughts. I think a Genos maybe lifts them up a little bit extra, but I think that it's a draft that even with a Damba, Envy can definitely make good use of, and a little bit of extra shield break. Not a huge thing to look at in this one. You have Cassie anyway for Team Envy for that con shield, but you're going to be able to burn down that Inara just a little bit quicker.
I think the only downside to Envy, and it's not necessarily that big of a downside really, Leon is known as the anti-flank. Cassie can and does have anti-flank tech in her. I mean, a good disengage into 2 shots gets rid of Eevee almost instantly. In fact, you might not even need the second shot, depending on how much damage Big Game does. But it does leave you open. You're a little more vulnerable, I guess is the better way to word it, than a Leon is. But as long as your Mave is maybe doing their job properly, you shouldn't have to worry too much about it. Cassie maybe going toe-to-toe with Victor, Mave going toe-to-toe with Eevee. It's, again, same thing as last map. Really, really good drafts on both sides. Both fit the teams. I think Envy's doesn't have quite as much synergy as Renegades does. I think either add a Furia or swap and give them the Genos, and they feel much better about it.
Yeah.
But it's solid, and I think it comes down to mechanics again.
And kind of looking at it a second time, I know that Envy were able to pick Cassie before Renegades locked in Victor, so maybe it's less of like, we need Cassie for reasons X, Y, and Z, but Cassie very good against Ashe, very good against Barrack, so Envy are going to take that one off the table. We're headed down to Splitstone, Corey, for Game 2. Can the Renegades turn it around? Let's find out.
Let's find out if they can indeed. Splitstone Quarry. Here we go. Now, whose draft do you like better in this situation, Chris?
Man, it's really hard for me to say. I think the Renegades comp can be really good, but I feel like they have to end their fights kind of explosively because that Inara Genos, it's tough. It's tough to keep your Inara alive and keep your Inara going. In these situations with only the Genos heal, you need to use the Inara's cooldowns to negate the initial push. If you have a cooldownless Inara only getting Genos heals, it's going to make it a lot tougher. I think Envy's draft a little more flexible, just like last time, more or less, right? Oh no, Renegades had the flexible draft last time and they lost, so who knows?
The Trimmers.
I don't think that's going to be.
Yeah, I can't imagine that that's not something I'd be stuck with either.
Yeah,
there we go.
It swaps over. I mean, unless Hero was going to play some weird Summit stuff where he was going to be bouncing up to the high ground and diving the Cassie without CC immunity, so then immediately getting knocked back down. That wasn't going to happen, more or less. But going to come a lot down to the trades here. And again, Renegades kind of have to win these fights early.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing how they were last time. Both Envy and Renegades giving each other a little bit of respect. They're playing to see who's going to get this first blood so they can actually maximize on it. Although we see that the rotation from Shadow coming over all the way to the side, applying that pressure in the fidget spinner room. It's going to be enough, but it's not going to be enough to net any really precision on the point still. 12% to 24. It's hard for Inara to really try and contest that Barrack on point.
Yeah, with the Genos heals specifically, for sure. I think also Invocal's doing a pretty good job at pressuring back the Barrack. And first kill goes in Quarry to Moon, and now Rubo a little bit low, having to back away.
The exact opposite of how last game started in this case. Shadow is looking for another opening hit. He's making sure that he is keeping this Mave pinned as best as he possibly can, so the rest of his team don't have to worry about it as much. Vocal's, of course, pushing up on the side with the con. They're finding openings, but they're backing off just a little bit. They're giving them a little bit more respect.
Close to overpower.
Anar is also not on the point, so they're still sitting at 42% to 36. And since Hero went down, Envy's going to be able to overcome that percentage very easily.
Lots of damage coming in onto Hero. That's why he had to back up. And again, no real way to burst him back up. That's the weakness of Genos. Toki now on the point getting capped, but by the time that shield goes down, that shield's not long enough to finish the capture. Hero's already back, so Renegades have another shot at this with Overpower and Barrage coming in. They might be able to use it, but they missed the Overpower. That was the key ult that had to connect.
They have to use Barrage to follow up to try and get some damage onto that back line. They get some on the Rubu, but the shoulder bash makes himself pretty much invincible. But my goodness, the melting that happened for Rock Monkey right there. Invocal finding good shots and a good grenade are going to at least leave him dead. But now they're looking at Moonchopper and Hero and turning their attention to them. They have to shot the Ice Storm directly on point so they can get rid of Toki. The through time and space to follow up to make sure they can confirm that kill, and they do.
And so through time and space, a little bit delayed, excuse me. The damage that came from the rest of the team was enough. They didn't need to use it there. Maybe they could have used it for aggressive play here, but now they're lacking it. They only have a Seismic Crash, and it does connect on the person who wants to touch. They might be able to throw someone in, but no! At the last moment, Renegades wrestle control back from Envy and get their first point.
Rock Monkey being on the side, but of course Hero's still pushing. He's going to actually run into the rest of Renegade at this point. He can dodge roll his way out, but he's still eating shots. He's peeking for a little bit too long and actually got taken out. Now Maldamba's on the side, and we see that Rubu's already up there on the bridge, but he's towards the Renegades at this point. I mean, Random Noob's all the way in the back. He's going for Viral, and Vocal's peeling back. He went right over his head, but look at Viral! He's juking him, but he actually still ends up going down. My goodness, ring around the rosy for the Genos, but he's still gonna at least end up getting a pocket full of bullets.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Viral had to do there. Just buy time. Yeah. If you know you're getting flanked, if you know, well, I'm one dagger away from death, just run, and he dodged enough to buy time for the rest of his team to win that fight. Cart's still moving. Nothing really gained, honestly, for Envy in that fight. Random playing very aggressive on the flank. It's a different style than we're used to seeing for him, and he's pulling a lot of people back. I think Renegades honestly could just ignore him and rely on Viral to delay a little bit more time, try to take the 5v4 while he's back there, but that's not how they want to do it, and Envy might not want to give him time to make that decision.
Shadow is still keeping up that pressure in the back to make sure that Random Noob does not get a chance to just dive in like he will want to. Toki eats a lot of damage, but of course that Maldama kill is going to keep him spiced up. They still got a minute 10. The barrage actually ends up coming out. They're still looking pretty good. The Void Grip actually on the Rubu, he just eats all three of those barrages and ends up going down.
All three shells from the barrage do connect, and Vocal putting out so much damage. Random pushed back to 3 bars remaining, more or less. Dretcherman comes in, Moon's in the way. Wow. Maybe Invocal can live. That's going to help Envy stabilize a lot, especially since they followed up with Invocal as well.
Yeah, and now the rest of Renegades have to back up. They got the big time in space, the Overpower, and the Ice Storm. The wall, though, actually puts Hero up. Now he has no way of at least defending himself. He's getting chunked. Toki's following up along with Rock Monkey, and they are actually going to go down.
Rough on the wall by Hero, just trying to get away in the last moment. Renegades trying to find a pick here, but the verticality from Random on Maeve on this map, so good at getting him out in sticky situations, keeping him alive when he's venturing so deep in the back line. There's usually only one way up to the high ground when you don't have mobility. On this map, there's the one ramp that leads to the area above Saw, there's the one ramp that leads up in main, and then the one over an elevator on the far side if you want to go to the main bridge over the choke point. So limiting if you don't have that vertical mobility, and Random is abusing that to a T, I would say, in staying alive and just not being pressurable at all.
Yeah, they only got 2 seconds left. Overtime is a factor now. Of course, with Hero around this corner, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to try and find an opening, especially with no kills coming out yet. Of course, they're still looking for their opportunity. The Halo is rolling through, but of course, you still have the wall being a factor.
Yeah, and he has no damage reduction, might be able to get it in time. Dome Shield actually forced out. Envy feels pressured enough. They use the through time and space to counter the flame turret so Hero can live in there, but just by time at this point, Viral goes down, but Random Invocal gets the trade onto Random.
Chopper's getting a lot of shots to the back, and now they're looking at Hero as well. Battle Shout to keep himself not only healed up, but to heal Hero through the bridge, through the floor as he's pushing the payload. They still take down Hero, and Vocal's still looking at Toki. They get the kill, but they've already lost 2 members, a third one in Shadow's presence, and now we're at a 1-1 situation with 4 ults up for Renegades.
Honestly, that Dome Shield getting forced out was a huge deal there. The fact that he wasn't able, that he felt pressured enough to have to use that, it was great for them straight up. Ultimate's not on the board for this fight, and after Renegades won that mid, I think Envy could use everything they could get.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, they've been finding their opportunities. They've been finding their opportunities. At the same time, I mean, you see the positioning it is that Vocal's been taking. He's just been all the way in the back. He's actually sort of been helping out Shadow just in the back line with this flank. I mean, Random Noob was in their backlines for such a long
The whole time, more or less.
Yeah, it was pretty much the whole time. And he still wasn't able to find the openings that he needed because Shadow and Invoker were just staying on top of him.
The pressure immense by Random, honestly, in the back. Maybe doing decent on the damage charts, only topped by Tolkien currently, who's had a monster of a game, I would say. At this moment right now, Dread Serpent used by Mr. Hayes, but who knows where it's going? Renegades don't know because they're stuck staring at midnight.
I mean, Invoker at least backed off of the bridge to make sure that he didn't get picked off. A good couple daggers, 520 each, are going to leave Rouge Hopper dead. But the blink in from Shadow, the kill from Invoker, and you get rid of 2 already high priority targets. Neither frontliner has any healing, but they're still biding their time. They drop the Ice Storm directly on Arubu to finish that off, and good shots from Invoker. Free firing all the way to the back line. Now they're looking at Rock. He's going to find shots, and Shadow's going to finish it off.
Invoker Shadow doing a great job so far. The pure backlines are just so good on this map, being able to constantly harass that point. Great dodge by Random actually onto that direct shot. Shadow would have connected it if Random hadn't used that pounce. Random feels a little bit pressured to be the one who has to touch. No, only 9 lives up, so only the blink out, not necessarily the blink in. Seismic Crash comes in to force him away, but Tolkien might make it at the last moment, but Mirage might force him away. No HP, but he barely gets out.
And Shadow manages to actually pick it up by him just being in the right spot at the right time. Now he's on Mr. Hayes. They get the kill on him. Shadow and the rest of the Renegades know Rubu's over there. He's already pre-firing around that corner. They know that Random moves all the way in the back as well. And of course, Hero is still able to find that kill on the Rock Monkey. They're looking at Rubu, show the bashes to give himself some DR and also try to escape, but they're still going to pick him off.
Rubu going down that lane is so rough. Viral winning a 1v1. Oh, sorry, it was a 2v1. Invoker was there. Viral does trade out for Random, though, and now Renegades moving the card forward, and they have the healing to keep themselves going into this situation. Just holding close to the choke, gonna have to take this high ground. Ignore the card for now, pressure the people above because Tolkien will have a free contest if he doesn't get forced out. Luckily for Renegades, Shadow does just that.
Nice wall though, but Tolkien's gonna be able to skirt himself around that corner, make sure he actually doesn't go down. He inserts down into the small little room, not only giving them the pressure they need, but to cause situations like this. Both of your frontliners are zoned out. They're able to push. And of course, if Vocal is around that corner, they get it through time and space. No hits, but it does take care of that dome shield. So that's at least going to play a pretty big role into allowing them the opportunity to get some space. A nice blink from Shadow going up and around that wall right there and finally kill on the Rock Monkey. Now Rubu's next, and he's going to go down too.
Shadow keeping the pressure up too, fighting Random as well. Verticality, again, so crucial on this map. That area is safe against every character except Eevee and Maeve.
Right.
And any other vertical flank, but we're not seeing them too much, to be honest. Ice Storm now used to catch in. Tolkien doesn't get away in time. Great focus fire, but Renegades could convert this payload.
Yeah, Moon Chopper being able to pick off Tolkien is a pretty big deal. The daggers are finding themselves at least spread out on Hero. And oh my goodness, we like blinked to Rock Monkey immediately, and he gets taken out by a nice shot from Shadow. Hero is able to pick off Rubu, so they're able to push that payload in, and Renegades are looking really good with a 3-1 score on Splitstone. They only need to really capture one more point to make this work.
That was a crazy mid-range shot, honestly, by Shadow to connect that and get that pick. I think Rock would have gone down anyway, but I mean, it's the highlight reel, right? We can put that in the Shadow highlights for sure. And this entire round, honestly, so far felt like a Shadow highlight reel, more or less unpressured, constantly on who he needed to be on, and just getting away with murder, more or less.
I mean, I like the opportunities that Shadow and Invoker are working together to be able to provide that. I mean, his cooking skills may not be on point, but Shadow's finding definitely some opportunity to be able to do what he needs to in game, at least.
He's feeling spicy, probably because he just ate
that
Takis and hot sauce cereal this morning.
What's up with that, Shadow? Come on, man.
We already grilled him enough. We don't need to do it any further. Very defensive start from the Renegades. I think they expected an adaptation from Envy, and it looks like it was smart. Completely baiting out the push, maybe also just playing away from the scout. And Hero, Renegades getting the point time advantage here, and Vol's so good at pressuring this objective. If he can get onto this cast, he can help a little bit more, but 39%. Growing for the Renegades as well. This is a great start for a potentially map-winning mid-fight.
Power comes through. He does actually get it onto Random Noob, which is perfect. They found that pick, 48% to 19. Seismic Crash right on the Tolkien. They're going to pick him off as well. Now they're looking for more opportunities to be able to continue this aggression. 57%. They're looking at Mr. Hayes. He's low. He has to use the Slither to back up and regroup with his team already.
Hero. Living there is a big deal, I think. They're going to have to throw someone at the point. He has a wall up it, which means I think it has to be random, but Ash, Rubu drive-by gets the objective capture, and now Envy might be able to find a pick, but looks like Renegades strike first.
Rubu dies midair in the middle of a certain dominance. They pick him off. They use the Dread Serpent to clear out point, but look at how low Envy is. Rock Monkey rolls on just to touch, but it's too early. They get rid of Toki. Random Noob moves up to the point to also get that overtime, but they can't push on any further. Renegades with their first game against Team Envy in this set.
Random, if you turn off the lights, you got to walk away from the people. If I walk into the room with Fawn and I'm staring at him and I press the light switch, he might still know where I am.
Maybe.
No, it was a desperate moment for Random. He had to use it, had to use something to try to survive a little bit longer. Great by RNG. I think their draft ended up being very good. The Inara Geno survived a lot longer than I thought it would. I think Hero really living a long time on the point, and that Luminary to Eevee was so slippery. Shadow, again, getting away with everything throughout that game, just really abusing that high ground. Shadow was playing above them, Random was playing behind them, and we could see which one worked out better.
Yeah, Renegade's rotations were pretty on point too. Of course, got to give them the credit to that. And the win, Splitstone Quarry already in the books, 1-1 right after this break. We'll be right into Game 3.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Welcome back. Game 2, just as convincing as Game 1, but Renegades win it this time on Splitstone Quarry. A little life from the Renegades, maybe a little momentum now at their back. Game 3 is certainly going to be a telling one. But Gormizer, just as methodical as it seemed that Envy were in Game 1, Renegades with some of that method of their own.
Yeah.
I don't think Invocal moved an inch from that high ground that entire game. I mean, the epitome of a free-firing victor. Watch the replay of that game from Invocal's point of view, and that's what you get.
And honestly, it's partially Renegades. They get a really good draft that's good for them.
Yeah.
They have good play that comes through with it. Obviously, like you said, Invocal kind of free-firing.
Ow.
But there is a considerable discussion to be had behind Envy. Their draft maybe not hitting all the marks they wanted to. It's not a perfect draft for them, but again, 5 champions that they'd be very comfortable on. But they didn't do it. They didn't do the thing that you need to do in order to win maps like this. And so Renegades showcasing that they do have more than Ice Mines under their belt. And the Splitstone Quarry played really, really well, especially if your name's Invocal.
Well, 1-4-1-4-1-4 is Viral's healing. So, if nothing else, satisfying there. Yeah, so the damage dealers from the Renegades, 10-3 and 16 for your Victor, 14-2 and 10 for Shadow. He was on a 16 streak there towards the end of the game, got Immortal at one point, and that was a big turning point. Once this Eevee started to hit its mark, and that's when the Renegades started to run away with it.
I might have the assists wrong. I just tried to quick maths it. But 24, 5, 26 between the 2 damage dealers here. 5 deaths between 2 of them on Invocal and Shadow. So definitely some big problems there. Big games from them. And again, showcasing that the Renegades are not someone to scoff at. If they are hitting their marks,
that's really it.
They are a very domineering team. But you have to do it on more than one map. That's kind of where they lose me, and that's the only problem I have. I mean, the last time they played, it was a 4-1 for Envy.
Right.
And if you win 1 and you win it convincingly, that's great. Win 3 convincingly, I start believing more in you. If you win the set, I don't know what to say anymore. I genuinely, if Renegades win this set, I will be out of words. But I think they have it in them. You can see the essence is there just through that one map. The question is whether or not they can repeat that performance.
Well, that's really what it is, right? It's like the Renegades have the individual talent to be a very competitive team. It's just it doesn't always, and sometimes doesn't really ever for long stretches of time, line up. And you can see these moments. Big 4-1 win on Splitstone Quarry. These moments when everything starts to mesh together, their competitive team. 4-2 win over Na'Vi. Everything meshed together for 4 games in that set, and they had a win. Definitely not a team that you can count out. They tie this one up. Big Game 3 awaits on Frog Isle.
We finally get Frog Isle. I've been waiting for it. I've been missing it. And it's finally come through. Unfortunately, I'm stuck here not casting it. But either way, I think it's fine to be able to come through. I just enjoy watching Frog Isle. Been banned through a lot of these sets lately. Kind of skyrocketed in terms of bans. It used to be Na'Vi would kind of ban it, and they were really the only team that looked at it that way. And then the last few weeks, it is just, I guess, escalated in potential. I mean, everybody wants to get rid of it, or priority in terms of bans.
The deep claims you.
And what's weirder to me is that Torvald got banned here too. I feel like Envy, like, this is Frog Isle from before this patch.
So they ban out Ash and Torvald. They grab Makoa. Looks like Renegades are hovering the Kinessa. There's the potential that Envy are able to get Makoa and Willow.
Yeah.
With Khan and Kinessa now locked in. I don't want to go too deep down that if Envy aren't going to end up selecting the Willow. But that's a hefty price to pay to grab a Kinessa. Someone who is, even sometimes when no snipers are banned out, somebody will just pick somebody will just pick a Strix, and you'll sometimes see no Kinessa picked at all. Looks like it, unless they go double blaster, won't be the Willow. But a Makoa Barracks stack in your front line, that's a good start for Envy.
This is one of Willow's worst maps.
That's fair.
I think.
That's
and coming down from it, there's plenty of places she could stand and still make it work. We've seen her be successful here, so it's not something to say is outlandish. But against a Kinessa, not a good play, I don't think. Not as strong as it could be.
Fair.
With a Kinessa, while Strix is banned, I absolutely endorse that. I think Drogos and Willow on this map into snipers just suffer too much.
Yeah.
But with the only sniper on your side, it allows Willow to not only have a lot of space created by this Kinessa, but the two of them in tandem have a lot of damage. I think Victor, with Envy hovering it, could be very, very solid for them. This could be a very good draft, and it does feel very Frog Isle from Envy. From top to bottom, it fits the map. But I'm liking Renegades from top to bottom now, assuming Inara is the last pick.
Yeah.
I think they come through with an advantage. The only thing they're missing will be that Genos, and that's where things might fall apart. That damage amp is a pretty big swing.
Yeah, I mean, Victor on his own does a pretty gross amount of damage. If left unchecked, as we saw on Splitstone Quarry, that's a big thing to look at here as well. Is Invocal able to win those trades against Rock Monkey more consistently than Rock Monkey does? Is a big question to be asked here as well. Random Noob, likely on the Eevee. And it will be an Inara hover and an Inara lock here for the Renegades. So I assume you like the Renegades, but it's performance dependent.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's, Kinessa, Willow are going to do phenomenally on this map, but you have to take the essence that they had during the last game and kind of implant it here. If it comes down, again, pure mechanics, I think Envy have a draft that can win them here. Damage amp definitely going to be in their favor. Look towards Rubu and look towards Moonchopper. That Makoa, that Khan will be the things that make the difference.
That's where Gore's looking. We're looking at Frog Isle in a tie-breaking Game 3. Let's go.
That's the sad part, is that we are looking at Frog Isle and Nick's not here.
He's actually cursed. He
He's
just
cursed.
left the building to go somewhere else, too. He's like, I'll be back. And here he's gone, and immediately we go to Frog Isle. Unfortunate. It really is a curse at this point.
It really do be like that.
Envy's draft definitely, I would say, is one thing that's not cursed here. I think it's looking really good. Torvald banned again, but not super surprising, I would say, for Frog Isle. The ultimate's still very impactful, and being able to get a flanker in really aggressively is too impactful, I think, to not want Torvald on the table. But their draft, man, it can pressure out Invocal a lot. I never want to count out Invocal on Kinessa, though. I've seen him pop off on it on Frozen Guard in the past against all odds. So all eyes on him for sure. How well can he withstand the pressure?
Yeah, I mean, you already see the pressure is definitely on the side of Renegades right now. I mean, the shots that Invocal are able to hit on so many different people already, it's just being able to open up a lot of space. And nice headshots coming out from him. That was actually super big. And they actually get the kill on the Toki. And now Renegades can not only keep their aggression going, but potentially take control of danger now because they have to back up.
The problem here for Envy is that they don't have their ultimates yet, but once they're online, they'll be able to buy so much more space. Ancient Rage is massive, I think, for Envy to be able to get aggressive. You're actually being able to withstand a lot of this Victor pressure on the point. That's also big. They're hitting 72%. Envy has to make a move now, and that definitely counts as one.
Shadow has to move out thanks to the DR and a little bit of the healing from Damba. He's actually able to make it out of that situation without taking too much damage. He just left himself at half health. And Vocal, nice shot on the Toki. He's able to find these shots at so many different angles. He is going to go down, though, unfortunately for him. Thanks to Rock Monkey's good positioning, he's not only able to get him Vocal, but Shadow as well.
Willow's going to struggle, I think, on this map. Rock Monkey now uncontested in the window, able to just lay down the damage across them. Up to the stage now to get that dismount angle. I think he backed up a little bit because he didn't want to be overpowered. You don't know the ult charge of the enemy team. Don't know that Moon is only at 80%. Use Barrage. Viral takes all 3 shells. It goes down. No healing now for Renegades. Even if they want to touch the objective, they're not going to last very long, and they don't even get a chance.
They get a hook on the side on the Moon Chopper. He literally didn't even have a chance to even try to get back to point because Koa was just body blocking him. The wall goes up, prevent anyone else from walking up, at least without the permission of Renegades at this point. And, I mean, they're able to control a lot of space. They've got Dread Serpent. They have about almost all 5 ultimates up at this point, with still about 2 minutes and 5 seconds left on the clock. And we have 2 good ults as well with the not with the Dread Serpent, but the Dread Serpent was actually used to try and peel back, but it was a little bit early in my opinion.
I think it was fine because it actually forced out the Ancient Rage, weirdly enough. Ruba used it in response. Not sure exactly what it gains them other than the Makoa gets to live, but now even if this converts, they won't have Ancient Rage for the next mid-fight. I thought that was their crux. They managed to win without it on the back of great play by Rubu and Rock Monkey, but still Haze. Tempting fate just a little bit, almost gets taken down by Invocal, but right now, cart's moving. Heroes finally going in to contest it. Monkey has to back off though, so we're in a little bit of a stalemate.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely firing at the spots they know that Envy are looking to be at. Moon Chopper is just pressuring Rubu on the side. And Fate Flight actually ends up coming out. He's just raining Hellfire down on him, but he actually cancels it. Make sure that he does not stay up in that air for any longer than he needs to. Definitely a risky play by him, but it has some sort of value.
That was a great wall by Hero, stopping Rock Monkey's line of sight. Everybody on Envy was huddling up in the one dome shield, getting ready for something. And Moon, a little overextended. Shadow not there to help him out. Almost gets Rubu, but he has the dash up. 5 versus 4. Renegades are in dire straits for this hold.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Will on the side, Hero was able to at least cancel out their point tank by killing him at this point. They put up the wall as well. He gets Void Grip, so they're definitely opening fire on him, but Shadow is just able to put on a lot of pressure where they actually can't kill him. And Vocal with a double of his own, a triple. Now he's going to be able to try and predict where Genos is going, but a good shield from Barrett is going to keep him alive and allow Mr. Haze to back out.
Barrett's still pinned though, and Vocal knows that angle. Goes for it, gets the shot, but realizes it's probably not worth chasing down. Smart, I think, to back up and reset our Envy now. Renegades, tough position, I think, for them to be able to go through. Yes, is so strong defensively here, and especially Willow, too. Willow, I think, suffers on mid, but this is definitely an area where she should be able to flourish.
I agree. I mean, Toki is still just pretty much sitting right here. He's looking up at where they're coming out of spawn. A good hook, though, from Rubu. He's going to put up the shield. The Dread Serpent comes out to fear Rubu away. They weren't actually able to get the kill. They don't have enough health to actually be able to make sure that they can finish off Rubu. The Dread Serpent came out, but it's not enough because Team Envy are now up 2-0.
The Dread Serpent has to be used, I think, in a more influential moment. It could have worked, but they were already down a little bit. Weren't able to immediately finish the kill because of where Rubu was positioned. When the shield goes down, they're going to be able to walk into a corner. I think smart by Rubu to line himself up in that spot. This was that triple from Vocal. Good shot there. See how he gets his third one. Blinks right up to that high ground. Great by him. Almost connected that, too.
Almost, yeah.
That would have been an insane shot if Invocal had connected it. And I wouldn't put it past him most of the time for sure, but Renegades have to find something to stand on. No Dread Serpent to play with. Ancient Rage also almost up to the other side, so they're going to have to withstand a lot of pressure on that danger side of the map.
Yeah, 6-1 for Rock Monkey. He's having a pretty good game. So is Random Noob as well, but I mean, Invokal's just right at their heels in terms of damage, specifically the EVs. He's able to find these shots, but of course, those shields are pretty difficult. Can we actually see the items? Because I'm wondering what. Okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, okay, so he just got record 2. Is there anything that stands out to you here?
Shadow rushing Blast Shield instead of going a red because of the confidence in the dead zone cauterized there. Trades back and forth. Nothing else too, I think, surprising. Rock going Bulldozer because he probably had some extra credits.
Right.
Why not? Get rid of that Inara wall whenever you can. Fifth has to be used defensively because of the Victor's presence, and it's a stalemate. I think with the comp they have, stalemates favor Renegades.
Yeah, Invokal managed to duck right behind that corner. Here, the Ancient Rage actually went up on the side. He's zoning. He got rid of Moonchopper. The rest of Renegades have to look at him. They put the wall up as well, but the good Void Grip on the hero, just he's trying to round that corner to keep himself, or at least keep himself safe and alive. He's not able to do it. That's going to force both Viral and Shadow to back off. And now Toki and the rest of Envy, those who can, are going to push forward while the point is being captured.
Super aggressive push and zone from Envy. Overpower goes in. It looks like it did not connect onto anybody. Now Moon getting pressured by Random. No shield. He has to give up all this ground. No way anyone on the Renegades have a chance to touch. And Envy onto a strong 3-0 lead. And I feel like these fights are still going back and forth, but Renegades want to swing it back in their direction.
Yeah, they managed to hit the seismic crash. Hero was able to at least burst Rubu in a very, very small sense of the word, but another good Void Grip. Mr. Hayes actually able to catch Hero off guard when that Mother's Grace is gone. Good shots from Invokal, though. Of course, Moonchopper and the rest of Renegades are going to try and push forward. They're going to try and keep them zoned out. And at this point, Toki is going to get picked right off. Invokal, man, when he finds these shots, he's getting the kills when he has that opening.
I think Hero might need to get some resilience. Void Grip is just so powerful into Inara. Any tank that doesn't have some form of mobility reset definitely needs some form of resilience to get away from that Void Grip. Invokal using this jump shot here. Mirage used, but it looks like it wasn't used on Invokal. Trying to hit somebody. Does get some connections, but he'll probably just cancel it at this point. Look at this pressure from Envy through danger side. It's hard for them to contest at all, more or less. They have to use ultimates to stop them. They're not willing to quite yet. Want to give a little bit of ground, but looks like now they move far enough. Dread Serpent's going to be used.
Hero's pushing up. Of course, Viral's in the back at this point. They're really just looking for an opportunity. Toki picking off Hero is pretty good, though, but they were able to find something onto Random Noob. Once again, Toki already factoring up 2 kills on his side. A Void Grip, they're going to hit him from all angles. He's going to go down, but Invokal gets a good snipe on the Rock Monkey. Now he's playing more aggressive, but still, they cannot find their opening. Envy are positioned well enough to where if they lose one person, they at least respond with another.
I don't think I've ever seen Void Grip get so much value without running like the Power Cosmium, you know, the Void Grip triple. It's crazy that they're able to do so much, but it really is just a weak comp against that. Inara Khan, once they've used their mobility, or I guess Inara using her DR and her zero mobility case, there's no way to get away. I mean, you're just hovering there until you go down, and with the credit disadvantage that they have, they can't afford to get that Resil. Ruby's going to play very aggressive here. He has Ancient Rage. There's no reason for him not to do this, disrupt the backline, and give his team a chance to convert this payload.
Oh, nice hook onto Invokal. He's going to pop Ancient Rage immediately. Shadow peels back to try and jump the dead zone on him. They do, but Hero already went down. They already took care of the problem. The frontliner was gone. They dropped the dead zone, and they made it work for him.
What do you do? Ruby's in-your-face Ancient Rage, both DPSs and your support stuck into spawn because of his pressure. This is why Makoa gets banned. So tough to answer. Envy being able to ban Torvald instead and pick it up. Honestly, I wouldn't be too shocked to see this happen on other maps too. I mean, being able to get that Makoa, the first pick has been banning it a little bit, but the response of Atlas from Renegades, I think they kind of signed their own death warrant.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. It's like, I had already mentioned it before, Envy had such good positioning throughout that map that every single time that Renegades were able to, okay, we've got a pick, we've got what we need, Envy just responded immediately with their own pick. They had too much aggression around danger. That's the side with the little cliff right there. And because of that, they were actually able to net themselves another win, 2-1 against the Renegades right after this break. We'll be right into the next game.
Skillshop, the official production partner of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, Frog Isle comes to a close, and Envy grabbed themselves another convincing win. Now up 2-1 over the Renegades. And Gore, this may be the least contested close set we've maybe ever had. A 4-0 into a 4-1 into another 4-0. It's just kind of both teams dominating each other back and forth. This next game, though, may be telling. If the Renegades swing back, we got a set on our hands. If Envy win it convincingly, maybe they'd run away.
And honestly, this is if there's two best of sevens I like, right?
Yeah.
There's really highly contested, much like what we actually saw earlier from Knights and SSG, where it's just good games back and forth. It's maybe some surprises in the middle that lead to a surprise at the end. Or there's, we're going to beat you into the ground, you're going to beat us into the ground, then we're going to beat you into the ground. Like, we'll just go back and forth like that. Because that one, even though it's very lopsided every map, at least gets you to the end pretty quickly. But this time, you know, I was saying how much I liked the Renegades draft, and Vocal did pretty well. Shadow did not quite hit the marks I think I had, but it did come down to the last thing I highlighted. Moonchopper, 1-5, versus the thing I didn't factor in as much, which is Rubu with Makoa equals free win for Envy.
Yeah, what did Meta Pusher walked by us?
Free Makoa.
Free Makoa. Yeah, you're not kidding. 5-3-7 for Rubu. Not the craziest slash line, but the space it creates, put Moonchopper in a bad spot, put Rock Monkey in a great spot. So a good volley of a couple games here for Victor. It was in Vocal on Splitstone. Now Rock Monkey. Great performance on the man on Frog Isle. Triple kills, whatever it may be, confirming that damage. And going against the Kinessa, that's not easy as a Victor, but he makes it look easy there.
And there's so many moments here where you notice he's not even focused on too much of a Kinessa. I mean, he killed her off first, so it made it a lot easier. But that's because Invocal was in an odd position. And a lot of those times it was Rock Monkey taking a position that didn't have to be in line of sight of the Kinessa and allowed him to capitalize on Rubu's hooks. A lot of the kills, like you said, Rubu's slash line, not that impressive. It's mainly because his hooks weren't for him to get kills. It was for Rock Monkey to get kills from the high ground. So they just worked together in tandem, a lot of that. And of course, it being Frog Isle made it a lot easier to snowball.
And I try to combine the two, like 5-3-7. He affected 12 kills in that game. And Mr. Hayes on a Genos Undying at 1-0-13. I mean, it's kind of, I didn't add up all the kills, but it's kind of that, high teens, maybe low 20s, and, affecting 12 of those is a pretty good rate for a frontline. We
didn't even, I think, highlight and maybe low light, depending on how you want to look at it, but not Mr. Hayes. It was poor random noob there, actually. It was 1-4 that game, which it just goes to show sometimes you don't have to have a beautiful slash line to get it done, as he still did it.
They are looking to do it one more time on Ice Mines. It's a contested map. I'm not surprised. I was going to bring up Victor. Not surprised to see him banned out because he started to kind of come into the meta. Apparently, not only in this matchup, but Ice Mines specifically, we've seen a little bit more Victor just kind of across the league in general. Makoa learned from what happened to us in the last game, ban him out. A little bit too much to deal with Atlas as well, alongside Strix there for Team Envy. So now, the flexibility, there are some maps where you kind of get the tried and true. You look at the Pittsburgh Knights and SSG in our last matchup. It was effectively Eevee, Maeve kind of trading back and forth throughout the entire set. There were some differences here and there. Willow, notably a big difference. But Ice Mines opens itself up to some difference makers. Maybe some Bomb King for Envy. Not quite as excited about like an Eevee, but there's some of those different kind of off picks that definitely work on this map. Willow first pick for RNG is a great way to start.
And that just goes to show how the flavor of the map can change a lot. This is Willow's, I would argue, one of her best maps. One of the maps that if you see a Fae Flight, it hands down on its own can change a loss into a win, change a fight into a conversion for a lot of these payload pushes. We've seen that happen. We've seen it with Simzilla doing it. We've seen Random Noob doing it, and I anticipate we'll probably see some of Renegades doing it for this map. And this is one of Renegade's better maps. Again, when it comes down to it, they only have a few where they dominate pretty much everyone on, but this has been one of them.
Yeah.
Same thing, Frozen Guard. I anticipate if they go down 3-1 here, I wouldn't be too surprised to see one of those unless it was on the ban list and I forgot about it, but I don't think it was. So, still available. Still potentially troublesome for Envy, as that might come through later. But it does still leave open. I mean, like we've seen Pip, Bomb King, you had mentioned.
Yep.
A lot of little flavor picks here for Envy that could still be pretty interesting.
And interestingly enough, Envy grabbed themselves kind of these 2 off tanks going up against Terminus, likely point tank for the Renegades. You have to kind of look at that flip now, where Envy have kind of those 2 premier aggressive off tanks. Renegades grab themselves Terminus. So maybe where do they pivot for their front line? Do they just grab themselves a Barrack who's still available? A triple tank could be on the table for Envy as well. There's
That's
lots
actually kind of where my mind's at. I wouldn't mind seeing like Furia Bomb King locked in here. Maybe you can hold the Bomb King off for a little bit since they already have a blaster. But, you know, grab a Nara Furia, go for a Nara Furia Ashcon Bomb King, and then just throw triple tank them out of there. Or you could go this route as well, which is not something uncommon, but I don't think it's reared its head in the Premier League as much. Again, my mind falls to Sanguine, falls to Stigma, as someone who has brought Kinessa here pretty often. Strix, I think, is the preferred sniper, and has made it look really good.
Yeah, and it's less that there's a sniper on Ice Mines, right? It's more that it's Kinessa. Often, at least in the PPL, you bring up a good point with Stigma in the minor league. In the PPL, at least, it's like if Strix is banned out, all right, we move on to more of the traditional direct damage. Envy kind of throw a curveball here, and they're going to stick with the sniper. That's less of the curve, but Kinessa, not something we see super often.
Not only that, you get a Kinessa, which, again, has been proven to be good on this map. Very good with a Genos boost behind her. Running that, I don't know if it's the full 45% damage boost if she gets the fully charged shot, but she's going to one-tap some people is the best way to word it. But they could still go Bomb King, and they could still run it. I think Xin maybe throws a little bit of a fork into their plan, but Bomb King, I think, fits well here, and if Random Noob plays well on it, there's nothing against Envy that is going to knock them down. The only thing they're really missing is someone to stand on the point just a little more stalwart than Terminus Fernando.
Are you surprised that Renegades go Terminus Fernando? Because there's a Nara and a Barrack still on the board.
Yeah.
Both of which totally forgone here.
Yes. I think that, Fernando, I think, makes sense against the Drogos. And I think if they didn't have Terminus, I agree with Fernando, but Terminus also does well against the Drogos. It's like 2 things saying, hey, don't pick Drogos here. But Immortal for Fernando can also help against a King Bomb, so maybe kind of anticipating that. The only thing on the Renegades that I'm on the fence about is their performance for Xin. I've seen Xin work here. Simslu, again, is the name that comes to mind when I see it, has made it work very well. I'm assuming Invocal will be playing that one.
Yeah.
And, before the big Billow nerf for Xin, Invocal was a great player for him, so I expect it'll still do well.
There's almost too much to break down in this draft. Lots to look at for the Renegades, lots to look at for Envy. We have no more time to talk about it here. Let's send it down to your casters to take it away.
Thank you guys so much. Envy opting to run the double off tank. Already looking pretty good, especially since they have that Luminary buff to give them more damage, to make sure they win those side fights. BK, we were talking about that a little bit too off camera, or at least off cast, about how we felt about that situation. And I think it would be good to explain exactly why picking the BK into the Terminus.
I think BK has a lot of options to potentially checkmate the Terminus, whether it's just detonating to his sides, forcing him to turn the Siphon, or just throwing Grumpy Bomb past him, making him have to deal with that stun behind him to a full 180 and not have to look at it. As they said on the desk, though, the Spirit of Stigma is being channeled on the other side.
That's
Rock
true.
Monkey bringing out the Kinessa. We'll have to see how it ends up working. I find it interesting that Renegades decided to go with the Terminus Nando here, though. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play off, especially off-tank Nando. We're going to need to see some really big value from the Immortals countering out the King Bomb, or else I don't know if I agree with the pick.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Of course, we're going to see the first shots ring through. They're looking for at least a zone to prevent them from walking any more forward than they already have on the Renegades side. The percentage is still building in Envy's side, 15% already for them, and Renegades are really biding their time to choose when they want to go in. They're putting pressure on the side, though. Rubu actually is pretty low, and now they're going to take advantage of that by moving up onto their side, onto Envy's side of the bridge, and now they're the ones in control.
And this aggression is huge because if you put them all in front of your Terminus, it's going to do a lot more. You want to keep them kind of limited in what they want to do. Rubu Actually, sorry, that's Toki walking in now a little bit on an island, but the surround comes in. No one can save Moonchopper in time.
Rock Monkey with a good snipe on the Moonchopper is going to leave one of their frontliners out of the fray. And of course, Hero. Oh, nice headshot, man. Good headshot from Rock Monkey to not only leave Hero low enough for Toki to pick off, but to really just stagger out their defenses and make sure that they can actually move up to get this stagger going. And Vocal is throwing as much as he can at Rubu, but they're sitting on the point. Envy at 84% already. Moon just made it back, but Shadow just went down. That's another member of the team on Renegades gone.
Moon managed to touch the last second, but with only Terminus to go in, Renegades know it's not going to be worth it. They have to disengage here. Just chip away at them and give yourself a chance to come back in later, more than anything. Oh, just holding down this high ground, trying to buy a little bit of room, but no one else can really poke. It's just Viral. Now that Shadow's there, he can zone out random, but until that moment, they don't really have great long range. No direct long range damage for Renegades. Just a Willow. That's the best poke they have.
Random moves to rotate it over along with Rubu to get damage on the Moonchopper. They found the damage, but he actually gets ulted immediately by Invocal. That's going to be the opening they need. You see that Rubu charges back immediately. No longer wants to stay there to make sure that they actually just don't end up going down.
Can I just point out how long that Blast Flower stack was on Rock Monkey for?
That was pretty
He
long,
still got hit for 800 when he was going all the way around the corner, which is crazy to me. Damage for Battle Shout, Token keep himself alive. Dead Zone forcing him away. That's an ultimate committed. The Illusory Rift just to zone out Envy a little bit. Hero notices the stickies under him. Overpower connects, so Envy put a crack in the Renegades defense.
Hero actually moved up to try and see if he could peel for Shadow in time. So did Invocal. That's why they both ended up going down, actually. Hero still alive in this case. Holds up the Siphon, but he can only eat so much damage before he's just eating bullets straight to the face. My goodness, a team wipe from Team Envy are going to be able to put Renegades in a worse off position than they already were, with Faithfly being the only thing they have right now.
Has Hero gotten his ult yet? 94%. Terminus, not the highest damage in front line, but definitely, I think Envy are just not really contesting him, not fighting him in a place where he can get those swings at all to build any ult. Finally, he'll have to reanimate for this defense. I don't know if you want to spend it. You're going to need it for these mid fights. Moon and Shadow very aggressive up top. But actually, this might be too much. Finally, they back up, but Rubu's in a position where he could dash over at any time and pinch this flank from Renegades.
Still, though, I mean, they're looking for their opportunity here, but the Battle Shout to keep Toki alive, that's going to be good because it's going to make sure that they don't actually have to forfeit any positioning they have at the time. Sealing gets thrown out, finding a little bit of damage. Everyone's waiting. No one's on the point, and they're trying to find their opening. I mean, they're just literally, that's all they're doing. They're just looking for their opportunity to be able to push in. And Vocal goes down, though, because he commits a little bit too much on the side. The Grumpy Bomb actually was able to stun Moonchopper. He leaves him low, and Shadow is actually forced to use the Faithfly, but he has to be careful. They're in such a good spot that he can end up eating a lot of bombs at this point.
He tries to get raided, barely makes it away. The door frame, the greatest enemy in Faithflight, as always, Immortal, to try to stabilize, but it's not really going to find a kill once it runs out. Maybe they get Toki, but they're going to trade Shadow.
Wow! They have the Blast Flowers stacked, but they don't end up finishing off Toki. He is still alive, just like Random Noob was able to live, and you see the problem right here. Random Noob, Rock Monkey, these two, both of them have gotten double kills, meaning that those two alone have just ended up wiping out the entire team. Envy have had such a dominant performance on Ice Mines already, and this is Renegade's map pick.
Honestly, the zone control that the Bomb King is getting them in the top right, I think is what got Invocal killed. It seems kind of backwards, but the fact is Invocal went in expecting something to happen. Hero gets booped back. Who is the only other person who can follow up?
Right.
It's going to be Moon and Shadow, but Random is just detonating bombs in that choke point. What do? You can't get through it. He is just cleaving through both of you. You can use your shield, but then now you're shieldless on Nando. You pretty much have to run away. BK enables so much control for your team, and the only death was Invocal using his ultimate just to take down that control that Random is constantly giving Envy.
The Renegade slash lines are already looking pretty rough as it is. 2-0. Envy already has 2 points up on the Renegades. Through time and space, try to see if he can actually hit something, but everyone, they were really, really aware, good on Renegades, to not push up any further. Hero was the only one that pushed up. The rest of them waited back, knowing that the through time and space was actually going to come through. Toki is just sitting on point. It's hard for Terminus to try and counteract this. They're going for the same strategy. Moonchopper's going around on the right. He's trying to focus out Rubu, and Vocal follows up with his own ultimate, but they still don't actually find the kill, and they get Shadow again. They're here, not their healer, but their DPS is down. They cannot do what they need to because now Moon and Invocal are up too far.
Post-flutter, Willow is so easy to hit. Good on Tulky for going for those easy-to-hit overpowers because there's no risk. No risk, high reward. And that's honestly just super smart to be doing. Rocket Monkey, very defensive at his own choke point, catches Moonchopper on the retreat. And now he's holding the point. Renegade's backing up. Is Vocal a little bit? No, that was an illusion. I was about to say. And Vocal's trading into Rubu, but now his Reanimate gets forced out. Renegade's out of options to contest this point.
60% for Team Envy to Renegade's 3% on the point. You see the hero, of course, is swinging at the little bombs on the ground. No one has really been able to push up. But they use the Illusory Rift. They use the Fate Fly. Shadow gets sniped immediately. Now Rock Monkey's really low. He goes down. Hero is actually able to put enough aggression, but he gets stunned due to Grumpy Bomb. He's still going to die. Moonchopper is still trying to fight that side flank, but it is so hard to break that. And Vocal comes up with the counter holding up the sword in front of his face, but they just use assert dominance to make sure that they do just that, assert their dominance. Renegades cannot push past them.
Great push by Ruby there. And I was going to say, that push by Hero was good, but it shows how strong the BK is. I was talking about how it can be good into the Terminus. The Grumpy Bomb checkmate. What do? You can't turn around and siphon the Grumpy. You have to look forward at that BK damage and hope that your resilience, or maybe they don't know you're going to be stunned at that time, will be enough. And for Hero, it wasn't. Rock Monkey now in this long sideline. This is where Kinessa should shine, should be performing at her best. Renegades are going to have to be very tentative. They don't want to fight it just yet. They want to wait until they can test that card in safety. But they might not have the chance.
I want to give a testament to Rock Monkey right now, dude. Like, every single time Hero is holding up that siphon, he's not shooting. He's shooting immediately as soon as it goes down, like you should. But he's taking advantage of that in a way to where Hero still feels pressured by the shots for Rock Monkey, even though he knows he's safe for that brief amount of time. Toki is up on this bridge. Probably saw his random move. They've been holding this for so well. Yep, he's over there on the side, chucking bombs. It's once again Moonchopper and Shadow looking for this opportunity to try and fight back for bridge. They have to use the Fate Fly. He has a better sight line now because they aren't able to push up as far. And Shadow's top of the damage charts. You've got the Willow. You got what you need, but it is so hard to fight back against this BK and this Con.
Oh, he Fate Flyed it just for a sight line, though. I mean, that's an ultimate use just to get a better angle for 6 seconds. They just waited. Sid very aggressive. They can't save Haze. And Vocal actually counters the King Bomb perfectly, so great play by him. Illusory Rift might get him out, but Cauterize 3, the healing's not enough.
Rubu just came in and linebacker tackled.
What's good?
Vocal, yeah, immediately. And he actually just tackled him. Oh my goodness, another good overpower on the Shadow. Toki's awareness, being able to just keep an eye on Shadow at any time, they're able to pick him off, just like right there, Revival's actually able to be picked off. They use the Headhunter to maximize on the damage. Assert dominance is used on the side, right outside of the spawn of the Renegades. Siphon goes up. They can't stop the damage. It's a little bit too much, and I mean, they are cooking right now. Team Envy with the easy bake of
Random Noob with a perfectly timed Grumpy Bomb there, too. Hero has the res, gets up at the last moment, but immediately falls because of the stun. Moon's here, no immortal, so it's just on his sustain with Viral going down too, and I think it's inevitable. Envy take it. Such a strong Ice Mines draft, and I think they played that to a T.
They did, and I had brought up before about how their positioning was just so good, and still, that right there, if you ever wanted to see it, or you were questioning it a little bit earlier, that is the exact testament of how good their positioning is. Just like it was on Serpent Beach, it was great here. Toki, Random Noob, held that bridge, and I'm confident to say that pretty much won them most of those fights because they couldn't get up there. Shadow, Moonchopper, both of them were eating too much damage for them to just walk up there and try to contest.
And also having the Khan being the one counteracting the Nando is a big deal too. Commander's Grab annihilates Shield. Now that he has Towering Barrier, yeah, he trades a little bit better. Definitely not as bad as it used to be, because it used to be 1-for-1 advantage to Khan. But still, just having the hard counters there, Renegades just couldn't find the answer.
They couldn't. 3-1 Team Envy are looking pretty good. Right after this break, though, we'll be right into what could be the final set.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, if you wanted one more 4-0 for Envy, you're happy about the way Ice Mines went. And that's what we were nervous about. A convincing performance. We were wondering if the Renegades could kind of keep this back and forth going. And at least in Game 4, that was not the case, Scoremizer.
Yeah, I think the solid answer is potentially no. They do still have a chance. I mean, we've
Yes.
now officially seen a reverse sweep, so nothing is impossible for them. But there is a heavy note that kind of falls on them. When you lose, I think, as heavy-handedly as you have so far, it does tend to start to slip away. That one was just very, very solid from Envy from top to bottom. And again, I mean, there's a lot that could go right, a lot that could go wrong. Renegades have a draft that feels more Ice Mines. But yeah, 2-streak to max versus a 14-streak lowest there for Envy.
They were able to get 1 or 2 kills at most before dying, whereas Envy, at least, as you point out, 14.
Wow.
I imagine the slash lines are going to reflect the same. And Vocal, with the highest amount of kills on his team, had 4.
Not hard to do in this case.
And a lot of them were like spites that connected and kind of, or at least one of them, 1 of 4. So at least 25% that I noticed from Invocal was a spite. But conversely, 2-streak was highest for the Renegades. 2 deaths is the highest for Envy here. That's Rock Monkey, 10, 2, and 12. 7-0-12 for Tulki.
You know, we have to have a serious conversation about Rock Monkey feeding for his team. I mean, come on, 2 deaths, man.
At what point do they drop this kid?
Yeah, no, just garbage player. No, he does incredibly well. 10, 2, and 12 there. 10, 1, and 11. Just knocked 2 numbers off the last 2 is Random Noob. Kinessa, a very interesting new pick on this map. Bomb King, not so much. Either way, they both performed really well. And I think a lot of what could have gone right for Renegades relied, I think, on Moonchopper. And actually a little bit on Hero as well, but that is about the worst reanimate that you possibly could have had. He had to do it there, but
yeah.
I mean, from dead to CC'd to dead again, don't make much leeway with that one.
Yeah, I'm trying to count. I mean, Moonchopper delayed. I mean, I guess there would have been like 2 seconds where he could have somehow like maybe Shatterfalled back in if he didn't want to reanimate there. But I think in the moment that's the right time to use it. But you're right. That's a big win for a Bomb King. We kind of felt maybe a Bomb King in the winds as the pick and ban phase went on, and that's why. I mean, you talk about
Bomb
comfort.
King in the water.
Does he? I don't know if Bomb King would work. He would extinguish his wick. I don't think it would work in the water.
It's his life force in the wick. Questions like this and more answered tonight at 11.
Well, his ultimate wouldn't work at least. I guess that's the big takeaway here. But on the topic of kind of comfort picks for Envy, whether it's Cassie, apparently Kinessa's now become a comfort pick for Rock Monkey. We've seen that a couple of times. One for the Renegades now. We've seen Rock Monkey pilot it as well. I don't know if that's a good a game to take away Kinessa's stats from because it was so lopsided.
Because he fed so hard. No, it's it's still good. I'm gonna just say, hey, I nailed it. By the way, for
you
Frozen
did call
Guard.
Frozen Guard,
but Kinessa, she's in this weird spot where she works really well, especially with the Genos behind her, as Rock Monkey just showcased. And I think, especially because people have been figuring out how to work Strix into every map, sniper scopes are not the end-all be-all. You could still make her work on Bright Marsh if you want to. You can make her work on Stone Keep. It just comes down to the fact that Strix is better, more versatile because of the stealth changes that have made him and escalated him to the top. But also the fact that you only are going Strix because it's kind of guaranteed damage that you're going to have. You almost guarantee you're going to die less because of those stealth changes. If you didn't see those happen, if it still knocked him out specifically, I think we would be seeing Kinessa a lot more, or maybe just as much as we used to see him. And Strix would be kind of the oddity who would fall back down to that. But I think there's room for her. I don't think it's against Strix, but I think if there's a map where you can run a sniper and Strix is banned, there's no reason not to go for a Kinessa.
And maybe, that's kind of where Envy and maybe even the Renegades are starting to experiment with that. Kind of feel out how a game with a Kinessa feels when Strix isn't available. And not so much on Frog Isle, but there on Ice Mines. Good game for the Kinessa. Chalk that one up as a win for her. Ash banned out one more time here, followed up by the Atlas. Makoa Strix, nothing too surprising there for Envy's bans. Early priority after going unpicked, unbanned on Ice Mines. Barrick is going to be first to pick, followed up by the Genos.
Yeah.
Talk about a point tank where Genos fits right in. I think Barrick is maybe one of the best.
And he is just so survivable on his own. That's part of the reason why he works so well with a Genos, is that you don't have to worry about the healing from Genos as much. It's still going to be helpful, that trickle heal. Always heal your front lines, I guess, is the moral of the story. But that Luminary boost, if you're looking at someone who can stack up the damage, Barrick is so high on that list. I mean, he has, in some games, been top damage compared to snipers, compared to other DPS, compared to players like Invocal and Rock Monkey. Barrick can still take that away from them.
They are going to lock the Inara for the Renegades to go up against the Barrick. So a tall task for Hero to try to kind of out-sustain Tolki on that Genos-boosted Barrick here. Frozen Guard has lent itself to some interesting picks as well. This one would be no exception. Palpatine says do it. They're thinking about it. I wouldn't mind a Sky here.
I would love it. I actually think this is, if you are going to play Sky, there's like 2 or 3 maps you can play her on, and this is one of them. The others, I would say Jag Falls, because anything goes there. Maybe Bright Marsh, you could kind of swing her, but those are about the 3 I could give her.
No.
And I think Frozen Guard is actually a very good Sky map. Only around the point fight, I will give that addendum. She sucks at pushing a payload. But she's really, really good around the point fight, which at the end of the day is all you need to worry about.
Yep.
They shy away from it, the cowards. Maybe they'll go for it later, but as of right now, Envy, not quite feeling the Sky.
They're feeling Victor and Ruckus, though, one of Rubu's better off tanks. I like him here on Frozen Guard. Victor as well. Long-range damage confirm. That's all kind of standard, nothing new to you guys. Kinessa, one more map where Strix is banned out and maybe a team willing to take a chance on the Kinessa. I mean, it's effectively the same kind of type and distance of damage. I mean, you get kind of beefier headshots fully charged with Kinessa. You're not going to have the Genos boost behind it this time. So that's maybe a difference maker here. But, you know, this is what we bring up in these pre-games. We know the Renegades are kind of locked into where they're at. So now it's practice. Now it's getting better. Of course, they're scrimming. They're trying new things in their scrims. But in a, quote, sanctioned PPL match, a real competitive match, trying these things, getting better. And Kinessa, I really like teams starting to play around with her a little bit.
Yeah, I also love the fact that, I mean, you know, you mentioned they've been scrimming a lot. Yesterday, they took a 4-0 loss, and by the time we walked by that booth again, they were in there scrimming.
Yep.
So they are definitely taking any and all practice they can get and taking it seriously at that. And Kinessa, I mean, I'll regale you with tales of yore where Kinessa and Strix used to be picked on this map all the time anyway.
That's true.
So it was a sniper map. Then some scope changes came through. They kind of started to disappear, but Kinessa was the one that hung on a little longer. Strix disappeared, but she would still show up. Then people remembered Victor, and all of a sudden they disappeared. So now Kinessa coming through, I think it's a good counter matchup. I just don't know how much merit it will have in this zone. I think Victor, especially with the Luminary boost behind him, he's going to take a hard shot to the head.
Yeah.
But he's just going to sustain through it and kill you either way.
You're a teacher. You're grading Envy's draft. What do you give him?
A. I give him an A. Like, just right middle of the pack. Not an A+. They didn't nail it, but pretty good.
A is middle of the pack? Gore must have done really well. No, Gore did really well in school. Game 5. Let's see if Envy can wrap this one up.
Whoa, Gore. A is the middle of the pack.
Well, it's like A in an honors class. Gore was all AP. So then all the normies and the other rest of the class, they're just beneath
Holy. Okay, Gore. High expectations already coming out from Professor Gore Miser right there. But Game 5.
That's Dr. Miser to you.
Okay,
Don't think he got his doctorate for you to not say it.
Might as well be an A is the middle of the pack. But regardless, anyway, to this game, I'm excited too because I'm really liking Envy's draft, what it is they opt to go for this go around. So, of course, typical what you'd expect to see in terms of talent choices. But of course, one thing we don't know is how they're going to end up playing out this draft or this game, really. What do you think that Envy's going to opt to go for here?
We're going to see some very aggressive Ruckus Mave play onto the Kinessa. And I think how quickly they finish off Invocal, or at least force Invocal out, will make a really big difference. They need to be able to pressure out that sniper, not let him free fire. I feel like Ruckus is a pretty good answer to Kinessa. Definitely better than Ruckus into Strix. And we already think that Ruckus into Strix is a pretty good matchup, but having to charge up all those shots makes things so much harder for the Knessa.
Yeah, I mean, already they're looking. I mean, I can't really say they're looking pretty good.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
really just the positioning of Invocal is what I should be talking about. He's able to get these shots so cleanly, so frequently, but you see Victor and actually the Jiddos really just running over to the side. It seemed like somebody was actually pushing over there on the right, and they are actually pushing them back. But the percentages are still about even, around the same go around. 18% on Renegades to Team Envy's 21. They're leading by at least 2-point captures now, and then 3, and now the percentage is still climbing. Renegades have actually backed off of the point because Hero's a little bit too low.
This is definitely going to be a very kitey back and forth fight. And honestly, Envy could go for this a little aggressive right now if they want to. But they kind of have to surround. They got the Ruckus on this side. Toki finally using his shield now. With percentage climbing. Vocal will not really even be able to hit Toki. Toki backs off, but he got it all the way up to 84%. Still no kills either way, but huge objective control advantage to Envy.
Toki has just been sitting on this point. Barely any opportunity from the Renegades to not only find their opening, but to find their percentage at that point. 30% to 99. Overtime is gone. Hero's finally able to at least sit on point and, of course, gain some percentage for his team, but it's not much. They're only able to capture it at least 2 times. Now it's steadily able to climb. Ruble is low, but Shadow dives a little bit too deep, and Rock Monkey is able to clean it up. What
a delayed first kill, more or less. A huge delay in that fight. Ultimates are finally coming up. Dread Serpent stuns out Toki so they can get that kill there. Renegades maybe taking control of the point.
Oh,
Ruble gets
okay.
late feared too. That's huge, but with Invocal down, Envy might be able to get away.
Yeah, Viral has to back off, but a good seismic crash. They're able to at least get the damage, but no one's really there to capitalize on that. Gives herself the CC immunity so that way she can see in Midnight. And Mr. Hayes actually gets sniped out by Hero right there. Daggers from Random Noob are going to leave Hero looking extremely low, but the Dama healing might actually be a little bit too much. The Barrage comes through as well, directly on the point. They drop Dome Shield, they drop Barrage, and they drop themselves the first point on Frozen Guard.
Even in a rough, I would say, misplay by Envy there at the very end. Random used Midnight, and then Hayes and Random both went in to go get overtime. So a small little misplay, I think, there at the very end, but still ended up working out for them. Dome Shield, such an impactful tank ultimate, always buying you all that time. And Rock, time to get that off. Really good overpower action from Moonchopper will help them equalize here, but now they have to retake that space that Envy already took from them.
Then we go down, they've got literally 2 minutes. The payload is pushing, but I wouldn't be sweating it if I were them. I mean, they did get a good overpower on the Random Noob. Shadow blinks in and, of course, uses that wormhole to make sure he is back to safety. Of course, has to dash out or use that sword to make sure he doesn't get caught out. Victor is pretty much staring down these sidelines right over payload, making sure they can't at least walk up there and make sure that Hero at least can't get out there easily. But Envy are already back. They've got through time and space. They've got the Hexifier. Renegades really only have the Ice Storm. And with Luminary being spread out, they're able to get a lot of damage on the Renegades just from anybody who's mispositioned.
We'll have to see if they can find someone who is mispositioned. Renegades playing a little tentative here. Shadow is kind of forward, but now playing off to the side. Shot rings out from Vocal, does connect onto Random, forcing him back, but they have all the cover they can play in. Only Shadow really to follow up on any of them, and there's a lot of ways for those shots to potentially miss. Not the fastest moving projectile in the world. Random now getting aggressive up top, so Envy, they smell blood in the water. They want to make something happen. You can already tell with this high ground positioning from Rubu on the right.
Yeah, Rubu's will definitely biding his time. He's waiting like Pokemon in tall grass at least. A nice headshot actually coming out from Invocal. They were really, dun. Exactly. And in this case, I mean, Random Noob actually just ends up fighting Invocal. A nice headshot from him is able to at least get rid of them, but they're still pushing up. Rubu's still alive. He's going to go down at the very last minute, though. Shadow is going to finish him off in this case. Mr. Hayes is really low along with Rock Monkey, so they're going to have to back up. Toki has the shielding, but still, they aren't giving up any ground, really. They're just pushing them back, but it's barely. They can still make it back to point.
Yeah, great mid-range shots by Shadow, but also good body blocks by Rock Monkey to keep Hayes from going down. Maintaining that healing on the field, I think, is pretty big as the timer runs down a little bit. Marks on both tanks. Damage we saw across the board now might be the time, but Shadow finds Rock. That's a huge amount of damage out, which might end up being a wasted Midnight.
Yeah, they actually used Dome Shield as well. The fact they got rid of Hero, that's actually pretty huge. And Vocal uses Headhunter to try and capitalize on the fact that Random Noob was actually a little bit too far up, but he bounces right back out. Now Rubu has to back out too. The shield from Barrett actually able to keep his friend alive. They get rid of Mr. Hayes, but the ice block directly on point makes it harder for Team Envy to push in because Shadow's able to contest, and Vocal finds 2 kills. Once again, the positioning and the distractions from ice block is enough to allow Invocal these finishing kills.
a miracle defense, honestly, by Renegades. The execute by Envy was there. They did Midnight into Dome Shield and then Hexed in the Dome Shield. Both tanks ended up going down, but the sustain from Eevee was just too much, constantly blinking back and forth, finding the shots they needed to. Ice Storm used in a pretty smart way, and a lot of ultimates have been used. Only Barrage and Time and Space up for Envy, only Seismic Crash and Overpower up for Renegades, but I feel like Renegades got the better side of that trade. Not only did they narrowly manage to avoid going down 0-2, I think they have way better ultimates for mid. We're still early game, so Seismic Crash is going to be good. Overpower is really never bad unless you use it in front of the entire enemy team.
Or misses.
Well, I mean, yeah, at least you get 30% back. That's better than hitting someone and dying immediately.
At the same time, they are still looking pretty good. I do agree. They definitely have some ult usages in their pocket, having at least being able to make sure they can capitalize on these mispositioned targets, and Barrage opening up a lot. But speaking of opening up, Shadow opening up the door with a good kill onto Random Noob. More rockets coming out, and focus fire directly on the hero are going to cause him to at least back up a little bit, but they actually pick off Toki. Now you already see that hero. He actually uses the Seismic Crash to try and hit him around the corner. All right, hero. I understand. Very, very bold move. Both of you two assume they will still be there.
Listen, I'll say it was very enthusiastic.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't say anything else about it. A very enthusiastic ultimate by hero. I would use it too, but the overpower does manage to connect onto Rubu. He doesn't make it back, but that makes it a trade with Toki having a guaranteed retouch on the point, backed up by Rock's Barrage.
Barrage actually comes out, but the wall actually prevented it from actually hitting. And he has to look around or find another target. In that case, very good wall and good presence of mind from Hero to be able to lock out that opportunity for that Barrage to actually hit for Rock Monkey. Good body blocking by Shadow too. I like that. The Ice Storm to prevent it from touching point as well. Renegades are playing this smart. This is what I like to see. You love to see it.
Shadow on Eevee on fire seems to be the only way that Renegades can really win these fights, though. Yeah. Think about this, how this set has gone so far. That's been the story for every time they've looked successful, and luckily for them, right now they are 2-1 up. Moving forward, Shadow trying to make something happen, but it's dangerous into Rock Monkey, especially on Victor. So much damage. For a character with such a low health pool, you're not going to be able to survive for that long. He's playing it smart, though. Very hit and run. Not trying to overstay his welcome anywhere. And this is kind of just the uncontested part. Looks like Envy might want to change that with this Midnight going in aggressively.
They use it through time and space. Doesn't find a mark, though. They're at least able to find two people, both DPSs on Renegade's side. They get rid of, Viral gets rid of Random Noob, which is good, but the rest of the Renegades are pretty much dying at this point. They're going to be able to stagger out Hero. They're not trying to kill him at least too soon.
They're going to force him to jump off.
Exactly,
I think that's smart. They shouldn't kill him until he jumps.
Wall goes up. There it is. Okay,
Hero did the wall so that he could potentially not give them the kill credit, but Rock Monkey shot him too late. That was the reason for that wall. And I like how Envy actually didn't kill him. Some people say, "Oh, stagger, stagger," and then when they're about to jump off, everyone's like, "Yeah, but I want the kill." And then that person does go down anyway. Waiting till they jump, it's min-maxing. Every second matters if you're defending like this.
Nice stress serve.
That was a good start, but actually got countered by the Hexa.
Oh no, nice Hexafire from Rubu. The awareness, as soon as he heard it actually go out, and Random Noob positioned himself all the way in the back. They were grouped up in that room. Good on him to be able to know when to capitalize on that. The daggers were insane, my goodness. That was really good from Random Noob in that case. Now he's looking at Hero as well. Toki finishes him off. Good job on that. Good positioning, good daggers, and an even better fight from Team Envy. My goodness.
God, I wish this fight mattered because that was sick. I wish there was any reason for that to have mattered. That's when Random pops off. That was a sick air dagger shot coming out from Random, but all it did was slow down Renegades a little bit longer. Still, like I was just saying before, every second matters. They're buying as much time as they can. Random and Toki still locking them down into here. Invocal point blank Kinessa. Something he's got to do here, but a little bit too close. Hayes finds the pick on Invocal.
Now Envy are definitely feeling themselves. You already see how far they're pushing up. 8 seconds left on the clock. And they're going to be able to they will be able to match this up 2-2. In this case, Renegades have not been able to find their footing this round, but it's okay. Envy have 3 ultimates. Renegades have 4, so they definitely have a chance of being able to do that. I'm so impressed by Random Noob's positioning right there, because the Dresser came out, they used Hexfire to counter it like you were saying, and Random Noob, like, look at this. This is so important because they didn't know he was behind him. Also, these daggers. Like we
at the very end here, yeah. This is what I was freaking out about, because that's not easy.
No, it is not.
It's not easy. Maeve shots are pretty difficult to connect, especially on an Eevee flailing through the air. Yes, Shadow had just canceled it to soar, but still predicting that.
Right.
Not the easiest thing. Good on Random. Playing a lot of pressure into the back line, and I've noticed as our meta evolves, as the game changes, I feel like these flanker plays, these deep flanker plays, are becoming a lot more common. As we were starting this meta, we kind of saw the flankers kind of playing off to the side, harassing a little bit, not really wanting to go too far in. But then now they're just going all the way in because they're playing these characters so much, they really understand the limits of what they can do.
Oh my goodness, he used the seismic crash to try and peel for Viral, but Viral still goes down. Now the rest of enemy, look at them, they're so aggressive. Because they couldn't pick off Rubu, Rubu opened the door, the floodgates for Team Envy to follow up all the way in the back line. Shadow has to use the Ice Storm, but he still goes down because Toki counters it out with a Dome Shield.
The Dome Shield's not meant to sustain on the point now, but Envy have a good position to damage the tanks as they go in and not let them get in for free at the very least. Force out some cooldowns. If you can get the NR on point without DR, that's big. Raj used to try to catch Invocal, but he gets away, and one of the shells actually got eaten by the slithering Damba. Look out. Get the first pick, though. No heals up means they have to find a kill fast for Renegades.
I was about to mention how low Viral was. I thought he made it out, but he didn't. 99% for Team Envy, 6% for Renegade. The overtime is a factor now. It's gonna go down. Moonchopper was able to touch, but no one else, I don't think they really can. Moonchopper touches once again, but he's still gonna go down, and Vocal actually is probably gonna get picked off, and he is. Viral set up a little bit too far. Now Random News gonna be able to push up. The Gourd goes down to keep himself alive. The wall goes up to keep Viral alive. And man, oh man, Envy with this aggression, they are not slowing down.
I was just saying how our meta was kind of shifting away from defense and more towards these super aggressive plays where you know what your team's going to be doing and what your champion can get away with. I think that was a combo with a Vocal and Hero to take down Random, so Renegades might contest the uncontested normally stretch of cart track to see how forward they go, and yet they are coming in, but Rock Monkey does not want to let him do it for free.
Right, he's going to be able to move out, or at least move away from Hero and the rest of the Renegades that are pushing up. Moon's still a little bit too far up, though. They're definitely going to respond with a way to be able to try and catch him out, and they are. They're going to be able to pick him off. He's gone, but so is Rubu. Viral was able to at least get their last hit on him. They're both gone without their off tanks now, but they've got 3 ultimates, a 4th potentially in the form of Ice Storm. And speaking of which, Shadow finding a good direct hit onto Rock Monkey is going to force him back, but not Renegades. Envy are still not backing up. They still have the aggression they need, and that snake bite almost hit.
How many times do I have to watch a Mave own a con before I convince the dev team to give him an umbrella? Can I just get a shield umbrella legend talent? That would be amazing. Look at this.
Skin?
Good push, though. I can't believe Moonchopper got traded out there, actually. Was looking better for Envy, but Shadow does not want to give it to him for free. This actually could still kind of a either way duel potentially. Rock holding his nade, but Shadow avoids it at the last second and gets that win for his own side. Renegades managed to win this middle defense here. Envy now a lot of time to push the card all the way that it needs to go, but Renegades look like they're actually giving that middle round back up.
Daggers coming out once again from Random News. He's watching this room. The rest of Team Envy really have been. They have the overpower. This is where he got hit with the overpower before, so he's definitely got to be a little bit careful. Moon can definitely hit those. I mean, it happened earlier in this game, so he's playing around this cover more, trying to make sure he doesn't get hit. They're pushing up now. Envy's really the only one that's actually pushing up on the side. A good hit from Shadow, though, is going to force him back, but not back too much. Oh, nice blink in, nice blink out, and good pounce from Random Nuke to avoid that direct hit coming from Shadow. Ice Block as well. Both these guys are playing so well. They're both dodging a lot of these shots. Both of them are really low, but good daggers. He couldn't move in a lot of different areas without him being too linear. It's why Random was able to get that hit. Seismic crash onto Toki as well. Through time and space is able to take care of Invocal. And we've traded out 1 for 1 already, with Invocal being the next one spawning.
The only ultimate up right now is Midnight, and that's not going to be a factor. Actually, they had Barrage. I thought it was just charging, but he still had it. Rock takes out Viral. No healer up. If Envy can keep trading these picks, then the sustain is going to fall apart for Renegades. Hero's gripped. Resilience lets him get away, but only for a moment. Look at this pressure.
Hero's already down. Now comes the Midnight. It's bedtime, but Invocal actually manages to snipe out Rock Monkey right before that Midnight takes full on effect. Toki's on the point. The overtime is there. The Void Grip goes up. Invocal goes down. So does Shadow. Moonchopper trying to fire as much as he can. Battle Shot will give himself some immunity, but Hexafire is there. The firing squad is ready. Envy 4-1 over Renegades.
What a great ultimate usage there at the end, I think. Not having the Midnight, kind of rough, but Random coming back in, you can just use it globally. It's not like you need to get a good angle to do it. It's most of the map. If he used it from spawn, it wouldn't have reached, but still, what a solid play by Envy. That third mid fight, I think, kind of set the tone for how the rest of that game was going to go. That final point, I don't think there was any other way after how dominant Envy looked in the final round.
I think since Ice Mines, Envy have been not only pushing their aggression, but their positioning has been outstanding. their aggression has been outstanding. They were able to get zones. They were able to do damage. And on top of that, they were able to win the entire set. And I think that's just a testament to how good Envy are and how much it is that they've evolved over time. Not to say that that's not the case with Renegades, but Envy have just been doing so well. And this set, it was not an easy set. It definitely was. Envy were on top of their game today.
Speaking of evolution, you mentioned how the game evolved as it went on. Talk about this meta evolving. I think we're seeing different things as time's going on. I mean, we're seeing Strix come up, Victor come up, Richter. I meant to say Ruckus. I'm played a little bit too much Castlevania, I guess, back home. But all these different characters coming up that weren't there before, and we still have a lot of time till Worlds. I can't wait to see what else these teams are bringing out from their practice. Who knows? Maybe we'll be able to see those Koga Taluses, those things we haven't seen a lot of.
I mean, maybe we will be able to, and of course, still haven't even really considered the prospect of Rom, but that's a little bit too much into the future right there. I'm excited to be able to see him, but of course, that's all that we have for today for the set. We're going to throw it right back to the desk to hear their thoughts on it.
Thank you, guys. Great job on the call to wrap out this week of the PPL, and the numbers continue to be in Envy's favor: 4-0, 4-0, and now 4-1, 4-1 in their last 4 matchups against the Renegades. So history repeating itself here, Gore. A little bit of a fight back there on Splitstone Corey, but the next 3 games falling in Envy's favor, and Envy now 2-0 on this week.
Yeah, and being able to come through, big wins. A lot of the questions coming into this week were not only can Envy do it, but what will this kind of fight for 4th look like? I guess technically there's also a fight for 3rd in there as well. And with this, not only are they very solidly in 3rd place, but they also do confirm themselves being able to kind of stay in the top 4, since there's only 2 more sets they could lose. And, well, admittedly, even if they lost them, who cares for them? They're going to be going either way. Of course, they want to look good going into it. A lot that went well for them throughout this one as well. Rubu, I mean, not the best slash line. Same thing for Tolkien. And all of them actually pretty close, except for Rock Monkey, who's 11-5-11. But you know, we talk about them all the time. Mr. Hayes there at 4-3-24. Very good driving force behind them.
Agreed.
To kind of keep things running for the team.
And it was a lot of momentum that kind of built off yesterday, I think. Great performance from him in their space station set yesterday. So kind of being able to continue to have that roll forward towards the end here, confirming some kills, confirming some damage. And, you know, Shadow was, this specific clip, Shadow, you know, may have just been able to keep this game going on long enough if they didn't kill him. So a good Void Grip finally killed the Eevee, kept things nice and sealed up, and Envy are able to grab the win. In large part, thanks to Mr. Hayes. Good slash lines for him on that one. And this is an Envy team that's maybe starting to peak at the right time.
Yeah, pretty much the perfect era to kind of start showing that is right here, especially if you know, well, now that you're not going to go through the qualifying bracket, that you're just like, cool, let's show off what we can do for the end of the PPL, keep ourselves up, and then we'll take, I guess a week, 2 weeks off, come back, play on a Saturday, and hope to get ourselves onto the final stage there the week after a DreamHack.
Well, no matter what, they got 2 games left to play, but no matter how those 2 games go, tickets are punched to the quarterfinals for Envy. Maybe some seeding changes up depending on how Virtus Pro do, but as for today, we have Rubu and Rock Monkey standing by with an interview. Let's hear their thoughts.
Hey guys, welcome. Good job today throughout this set, and I guess the starting question should be just how are you guys feeling at this point in the split? We're not that far away from HRX. How do you guys think your performance from yesterday as well as today have been factoring in this stuff?
We're feeling great. I think we've been picking it up recently. Definitely a lot of team stuff, and there's a few slip-ups yesterday. We got punished a lot, but I think today we're feeling more and more consistent.
You guys, speaking of consistency, I think you were consistently looking good on most of the maps across the board today, but Split was kind of rough for you guys, I think, with what Renegades brought out. What did they bring, at least in their gameplay, that they weren't bringing on the other 4 maps?
I think that game we couldn't kill Victor.
That was it?
Yeah. It was a really good setup to control the side, but then also high ground, and I got shut down pretty hard because they gave me stone, but then I would push it and I get baited by myself, and they kind of wrecked me that game pretty hard.
Yeah, speaking of Victor, actually, we've kind of seen him a little more, at least in your set. Is he one of these like climbers, movers, and shakers through the meta, someone we're going to potentially see a lot more moving forward, or is he a team-specific kind of character?
I think Invokal's the best Victor, and it really works with his team. Just really good aim, and he stays alive. It's just been like that for a while, but maybe a little bit underpicked.
and things that work with different teams. We saw a lot of Io in the first set. Basically, I mean, I think actually none across yours. Is she a style character? Like only some teams are going to run her, some teams not, or do you think she's just in the meta and you never saw a need to bring her out?
I think it just depends on how you want to play it. I think IO lets you be more aggressive with the pet. You could put it on the cap and have both your tanks push. So I think it just depends on how you want to take the comp.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very, very much, guys. Congratulations on your 4-1 victory over Renegades. Looking good moving into the qualifiers. But for now, got to send it back to the desk to wrap up the day.
Thank you very much, guys. Big win for Envy to secure their spot in the High Res Expo quarterfinals just a couple Saturdays from now.
Yeah.
3 or 4 to be exact.
I've got a calendar right here.
I'm not good at math. I'm not going to do the math. But things starting to change around. Core's got a calendar.
You said the quarterfinals,
Quarterfinals.
Right? Okay. 5.
5 Saturdays. They still have 2 more games to play in the PPL, but we will certainly be seeing them in the quarterfinals. Fun week of the PPL. Maybe some things shifting around. Let's take a look back at some of the score lines that we were able to see yesterday. All 4 of the same teams as today in action. The Knights grabbed themselves the big win over the Renegades, and Envy, probably the better game of that day, finally kind of flipping the script on Space Station Gaming, grabbing themselves the 4-2 win in our second set of yesterday. And then what a wild start to the day we had here today with, Envy round things out with a nice 4-1, but that first matchup, 4-3 for the Knights. Don't forget, they were down 3-0 in that set. Full 4-game sweep to win it. And that's got to be doing good things for their momentum. And now you look at SSG. We thought that they had maybe resurged. And now they go 0-2 on a week with some winnable games. So we got to maybe have to heat check and see where they're at.
Yeah, and honestly, I think what we're looking at now is Envy trying to do their best to replicate any run, anything they can do to make this year the same as last year. I come into this as the team that won the world championship and not coming into this as teams that we've seen get second a lot. I mean, G2 last year was always kind of just ahead of them until that final split.
Right.
Na'Vi kind of seem to be those guys right now, and NIP just slightly ahead of the pack for Envy. And so they have them as targets for who they want to, because they're the only 2 teams technically that are ahead of them.
Well, here's how your standings are. After this 4-game week of PPL action, you'll notice 1 more asterisk up on that screen, and it's a good thing this time. That means you've qualified for the High Res Expo quarterfinals 5 Saturdays from now, as Gormizer puts it. Still a chance for Virtus Pro to maybe kind of mix things up in standings. Remember, 28 is the number of total games you're looking for, so Envy have 2 more. Virtus Pro have 5 more, so there could be some swapping that happens in there. And then Space Station Gaming, not out of that top 4 just yet. They themselves have 2 more games, but it's going to be reliant on a red-hot Virtus Pro team having slowed down.
Yeah, it's going to require this break, and admittedly, this is probably the best timeline for them, because if you're looking at teams coming back after a break, after they've been very dominating, NIP did this earlier this year where they come back after that little brief hiatus, and all of a sudden they just aren't hitting the same way they used to. Still winning in that case, but it took them a while to get back into the flow, and even still, some would argue they aren't feeling it. So I think Virtus Pro, if you're looking for SSG to find wins and to hope for Virtus Pro to lose, these next few weeks are the best time for that to happen. But at the same time, they were just monsters before they left. It's going to require a huge upset to really pull them out.
You pointed out, I think we'll get a look at them next week in the PPL. They've taken a little bit of a break. And day 1, we got, I believe, triple headers next week. This is just day 1. This is next Thursday. Virtus Pro against Envy. Right then back against NIP. And then Natus Vincere against Kanga. Gore, I think you're out of town for this one. You're missing some really good games on that Thursday.
I'm actually kind of upset about this now. When I originally, so I next week's going to be my 1-year wedding anniversary, and so we're going out of town and stuff. But I originally scheduled this for some 2-set-a-days, and then some rescheduling happened, and now I'm missing out some big ones.
Yeah, maybe some moving and shaking on Thursday. Friday, the next day.
Sad about it.
I believe 3 more games, a goreless Friday. We're all sad about that
one.
Oh,
come on! Virtus Pro Na'Vi, are you kidding me?
Well,
that's going to be so good!
Your power rankings, your personal power rankings, do they have them as 1 and 2 right now? I forget what you ranked these guys. Gordon,
Twitter.com/.
I know Navi was your
one out
number
for
one power
myself.
ranking, but so you have 6 games next week, Thursday and Friday, both 3 games each, and Virtus Pro is playing 4 games.
Virtus Pro is my number 1.
Next week. So is Navi number 2?
Navi's number 2.
So if we're going by Gormizer power rankings, keep your eyes on that Friday morning matchup, Virtus Pro, not as Vincier. VP with 4 games next week, so if there's some question as far as how they're feeling after a break, we'll get a very good idea of that. I always like to ask, you're not going to be here to call them with us, but which ones are you maybe most excited there about looking back on?
Virtus Pro Navi, I think, is going to be probably one of the biggest ones. And I think Virtus Pro Envy the day before is going to be huge. Again, that one is maybe more indicative of, technically it's 3rd and 4th, but I think that'll showcase how big the run for Virtus Pro going into, quarterfinals and potentially further as they go on in the next few weeks. And then, of course, Navi versus Virtus Pro is that heat check. Like, okay, we know you're good, but are you, world champion material? Can you take them down again?
Well, Virtus Pro have 5 games left. 4 of them will be next week. So some of the moving and shaking that could happen, whether it's jumping up to 3rd, dropping out to SSG, some of that may start to come to fruition next week in the PPL. Remember, we have 2 full weeks left with Console League, Minor League, Premier League until we take a break, and then Hi-Res Expo qualifiers after that. So these next 2 weeks are going to be very, very important. You don't want to watch anything else because lots of stuff could be changing around. But that's it for us this week. A fun one of the PPL coming to a close. I'm Dolson. That's Gormizer. On behalf of all of us here, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Monday.
The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins.
From Atlanta, the players are here, the stage is set. Let's get down for esports!
This is where we also talk about the new stuff that we've got coming out for you all.
Look, HRX is literally my favorite time of year. It truly isn't close. This is what I live for.
It's that 2nd place. I can't wait to see what 1st place is.
It's HRX.
You said goodbye like it